Welcome to the place where we learn about improv, 'cause public speaking can take you so far. Improv speaking, say yes and flex your creative thinking. Improv speaking, say yes and flex your creative thinking.
Welcome, everyone, to the Improv Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Dayna Gowan. So excited that you're joining today. This podcast is all about improv, public speaking, communication, performance, creativity, and everything in between. And I'm so excited about today's guest because we are going to be talking about storytelling, soft skills, and, of course, improv and public speaking. And if you're new, joining for the first time, I'll give you the rundown about this podcast. 3 goals of this podcast are 1, to help you understand the benefits of improv and applied improvisation. 2, to demonstrate how improv shows up in all aspects of our lives, because it does. And 3, to inspire you to try new things, get out of your head and judgment zone, and find creative outlets and passions that can help you. And without further ado, let me jump in and introduce our amazing guest today, Lamarr Lewis. Lamarr is based in Atlanta, Georgia, Metro Atlanta area. Atlanta is a big city, so Metro Atlanta. And I'm so excited because I haven't had an Atlanta guest on yet. Lamarr is a licensed associate professional counselor, nationally certified counselor, certified psychiatric rehabilitation practitioner, and certified anger management specialist. If you follow Lamarr on LinkedIn, he has a whole alphabet after his name, and well-earned and well-deserved there. His career spans over 20 years of experience as a mental health therapist, consultant, and human services professional. I like that term. He started his business, Lewis Family Consulting, over 10 years ago, and he specializes in soft skills enhancement, workshop development and facilitation, staff training, workforce enhancement, psychological safety, trauma-informed care, and much more. He is a sought-after subject matter expert for developing relationships and cohesion with teams to achieve shared goals for organizations, shareholders, clients, and staff. He has been recognized for taking a quote-unquote therapist's approach to address complex organizational problems. He's known for quote-unquote collaborative communication with diverse populations through dynamic interpersonal skills and public speaking. And I can attest to this because I've seen him lead workshops and he was fantastic. He is an alumnus of Wittenberg University and received his master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Argosy University. He is a published author. One of his books is Championing Wellness and Modeling Self-Care for Your Team, Holistic Leadership Workbook. And he is a published author and contributor to the award-winning book, The Weight of Success. And I love this fun fact. He is a father of a published author. So not only is he a published author, he's the father of a published author. How cool is that? His lifelong mission is to leave the world better than how he found it. I think that needs to be all our lifelong missions. Please welcome the superstar storyteller, Lamarr Lewis. Welcome, Lamarr.
Thank you for having me. That is such a robust introduction. I'm so not used to that. I tell most people, just say the last sentence about what the mission is. I can take care of everything else. So I appreciate you taking the time to share that with folks, because sometimes you don't know what you know until you know it, right?
Right? Well, you earned it. And I do believe, and I told you this before we started recording, but I really do believe it's so important to read the bio and not just skip through it, because you earned it. You worked hard for this. Like, you've crafted all this. And
For sure.
sometimes it's good to hear. You're like, oh, is that me?
Yeah, no.
I sound really good on paper. Wow.
Yeah, sometimes folks read the whole thing and I'm like, oh, I forgot I did that. It's just You do so much, you get so used to going, and you're like, oh, wow, let me pause for a second and just reflect on the journey. Like you said, you've earned it. I tell people all the time, there are some things I've been gifted with from, my bloodline and my ancestors. I just get, then there's skills I've worked for. And that's what you're highlighting. I've put in a lot of years for that robust intro. So I'm going to take it and receive it.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. And Lamarr, we're going to jump into the storytelling piece in a little bit. But
Sure.
For our listeners, I have a fun story about how we met, which I think is really fun and interesting. So we met through IHA, which stands for Institute of Healthcare Advancement. And I'll give kind of the longer story here, but I did a psychological safety workshop for IHA, I think in June 2023. I had to kind of look it up because the dates are fuzzy. But the workshop was called Using Creative Play and Applied Improvisation to Develop and Reinforce Psychological Safety Within Our Organizations. They did not have a cap on the title and characters I could use, so I used all of them and had quite a long title for that workshop there. And Lamarr, you were one of the participants in that workshop. And it was a small group. And so we got to do a lot of exercises. It was 90 minutes long. And I think we had more discussion than sometimes if it's a larger group, like you may not get to really hear from everyone. But it was a small group and all voices were heard, which is awesome. And I remember you saying that you were a therapist in Atlanta. And I guess that really stuck out to me, or I remembered it. So cut to May 2025. And I signed up for the virtual conference hosted by IHA. And you were hosting a workshop for that conference. And I'm going to read the title because it really drew me in, the title of your workshop. Sure. It was called Holla If You Hear Me, Fostering Connection Through Storytelling, Cultural Humility, and Collaboration Communication. Yep. Great title for a workshop there. I'm like, oh, I'm in. This sounds amazing. And as you were presenting, and I was paying attention, like I was really engaged, but I was like, I know this voice. Like, where do I know this voice from? He sounds so familiar. How do I know him? And, I didn't recognize the picture, but then I think the bio said Atlanta. I was like, I think he was in that workshop. And so I reached out to you on LinkedIn. I was like, I think this is where I know you from. And you're like, I think I did that workshop too. Yeah. And I was like, I have to have you on the podcast. One, because this is a fun story. And two, because your content is amazing. And I haven't had a storytelling episode yet. And so you're the perfect person for it.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, I forgot. I forgot. At that time, June 2023, to be specific, I was really starting to get more into supporting organization. And I don't even remember how I found IHA, but I saw the conference and I'm like, oh, let me just, because I was dealing in public health a lot. And I'm sure we'll touch on that in a minute. And so It was a new space for me. So I'm a researcher. I'm a guy who likes to learn. So I start studying. I find IHA because it helps, education, health literacy. I'm like, oh, that's kind of what public health is. Maybe this will teach me some stuff. And make a very long story short, saw the conference. I believe it was free, which who doesn't like free stuff? And coincidentally, I got reintroduced to improv. I used to do that when I was younger with acting and things like that. So been doing workshops and doing, things like that. My brother, who's also into theater, he gave me a book for my birthday about applying improv to what you basically everything you had talked about. Because my birthday's in June. Now even more of a coincidence, right? So either right before my birthday or right after, it was just confirmation I was on the right track, right? So I'm studying it, I'm learning about it, reintroducing myself to it. And I think a big reason why I did it, in fact, I know why, because I was working on communication with an organization and I used yes and. And so that kind of took me back down the rabbit hole. And then I saw your workshop and simultaneously I was learning more about this concept of psychological safety. And I'm like, oh, let me see how this thing, works. Your workshop was a great merger of where I was trying to go. And now, 2 years later, the student has become the teacher, right? And I can get back what I was given from you. So and you may not remember this, but you also, I think you stayed on a little extra because I had questions. And we talked a little bit after you finished presenting on the Zoom. So, again, it's just great how things come full circle. That was dope. It was really cool to like make that. When I saw your name and I'm like, the name? But then I'm a face person. I saw your face. I was like, oh, and it all clicked at the same time. Like, yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, for sure.
Very serendipitous, right? And it's just funny, like we do all this stuff and it's like, oh, that was really fun or impactful. And you embrace it and you move on and like life happens, right? And then all of a sudden something just kind of like triggers a memory and you're like, I know, where do I know this? What is this from? And
Absolutely.
so I love that. And I really enjoyed your workshop too. The chat was just like going crazy. People were sharing. And I remember it was an hour-long workshop, maybe 75 minutes, and it was just too short. Like we could have done a whole half day, full day. I mean, you had slides for days, and there's never enough time, especially online. Time goes by faster on
Really
Zoom, I'm
does.
convinced.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
and I wanted more, basically, out of it, which is always a good way to leave your audience, right? Like wanting more.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm glad you say that because something. So when I met you initially, I had done, trainings and workshops and stuff, but I was still iterating, right? So back to kind of, connecting it back to improv, nothing is static, right? It's very dynamic, and you fumble through the mistakes and things like that. And so when I met you to where I am now and where I was when you were on the workshop in May, it's been a process of really mastering this craft and really adapting to the need. So like you mentioned the chat, and this is just a free nugget for anybody who does webinars and things like that. Most people I find, especially at the times I do stuff or the times these things are happening, if it's virtual, they usually have 2 or 3 screens up. They're multitasking, they're not really paying attention. They're on their phone. And so if you can get them to engage in the chat, whether you're asking questions or getting responses or, just however you decide to do it, especially if it's a larger group, that's the way I stay connected. That's the way I get a pulse of, what's happening. And then I can adapt based upon what I'm receiving in the chat. Because you might not get that energy. You might not be able to see faces or things like that that you might miss face to face, or even if it's a smaller group, people, their cameras, they might be more comfortable with their cameras off and things like that. When you have larger groups, people, the cameras off, or you may not even see them. So how do you know what you're doing is resonating? You're not moving too fast, moving too slow. There's a real intuitive process that I think, and again, you can relate to that kind of when you're taught to. I grew up rapping, right? That's part of the reason why I moved to Atlanta. And during my era, I came up during the 8 Mile Eminem era. So we were always freestyling, battling, stuff like that. And having some improv training, I'm saying some, I'm kind of diminishing it a bit. Having, being trained in acting, right? Creative arts, creative expression, and then taking that to performing and rapping and kind of combining it. When you're freestyling in anything, whether it be improv, whether it be rap or jazz or whatever, you have to be in the flow, be in the moment. And that same process is what I take to these workshops, whether virtual or in person. We can go by the slides, but a lot of times, sometimes I don't even finish all the slides. I did something yesterday, I didn't even go through everything because the energy in the room, and people still got what they need. And that's the biggest thing. If you got what you need, I don't need to be stuck to these slides. I can adapt and we can go with it. And because I know what I'm talking about, it's probably like the biggest thing, right? If I'm comfortable in it, and again, circling back to improv or people who, freestyle or whatever, like they know what they're doing. They've honed it. So you can throw all kind of crazy stuff. I watched Whose Line Is It Anyway and things like that. And they'll just throw all kind of and they'll just on the fly. But that's not happenstance, right? That is a skill that's been taught and rehearsed and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't mean to jump the gun. I know I was going to do that, but it's just
Oh,
interesting to your point about how these things kind of come full circle. Right. And you don't know how these skills and a lot of these things that we did as young people, or these things that, we might dismiss as just play, in reality, right? These are the things that build connection, drive connection, uh, help us to learn and grow from other humans, right? And develop and deepen relationships. And I think, to your point, that skill of being open and being open to making a mistake and learning from it and not sitting with it, and ruminating on it and all that kind of stuff really helps us as professionals, whatever space you're in. When I play football, if DB got burnt for a touchdown, you got to come back to the line and check the same guy again. Like, you can't be stuck on the touchdown you gave up. You got to go back and, play defense.
Or they're about to run right past you, do it again, right?
And now you've made the problem worse, right? One of my old football coaches used to say, don't make the same mistake twice. I never got it until I got older. If I make a mistake, make a mistake going 100%. If I make a mistake going 100%, I can live with that. If I make a mistake and I'm overthinking it, then there's something different. So we already went all around the mulberry bush. We just started.
Oh, I love it. No, this is going to be great. I love it. And I mean, Lamarr, you alluded to it. So, here's your storytelling moment. Really regale us and use your best storytelling skills here. I really want to hear, like, you did improv and acting as a kid, and you said not just some, like, you were really into it. You did rapping and musical arts. And then how did that lead to mental health and being a therapist and counselor? Give us the full journey. I'm here for it. The floor is yours.
I don't get a chance to tell this story a whole lot, from beginning to end. So I'm going to just, dig into this, right? So,
yeah, awesome.
And a big part of when we speak of psychological safety, right, is this felt permission for candor, as Dr. Amy Amison would say, being able to just show up and be who we are without that fear of interpersonal risk. And so I model that. In therapy, we call it self-disclosure. So I say a lot about myself, and I don't mind doing it. I feel like it's hard to connect with people, especially the folks I see, if you don't share a bit of yourself, right? So I want to lay that foundation because I'm going to give a lot of stuff. So, growing up, I say this a lot when I do my intros to trainings and things. I'm a preacher's kid. Now, when I say it in trainings, and if you've ever been in a training of mine or you'll be one in the future, I always say, because uh-huhs and amens make the sermon go faster, right? I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and those churches can be all day. If anybody's been in a Pentecostal church before, these are all day. Sunday, your Sunday's gone, right? And so my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, my mom's dad, was the superintendent of the Sunday school. He used to have a fairly large church. We had a lot of families. And so every Sunday morning, me and my younger brother would be with my grandfather I'm originally from Ohio. I live in Atlanta, but I'm from Ohio.
I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah, when it all come together, you'll be like, I understand. But I want to start with the church foundation for a reason, because the pastor of the church is my paternal grandfather, my dad's dad. But me and my biological father don't have a relationship. And for many reasons, I'm not going to get into all of that. But we were still going to the same church that my paternal grandfather was the pastor of. So I had family at this church. If anybody's been to like a smaller church or even larger church, usually it starts out as a family thing and it kind of grows from there. So I had family, aunts, cousins, uncles. I didn't know were my family because I didn't have a relationship for a long period of time with that side of my family. So that, from the emotional part of me, right, caused a lot of harm growing up. There's a lot of detail I'm not going to get into. There's just a lot of harm, right? So, but I'm in the church. If you've ever been in church or I don't know how other faith traditions are. I can say in the church, and specifically in the Black church, they're going to put you in front of everybody, whether you singing in the choir, whether you talking during Easter or something like that. So I've been put in front of people as uncomfortable as I've been my whole life. And I've always naturally, I get this part of it from my father's side of the family. All my father's side of the family are ministers. Being able to be in front of people, be charismatic, be engaging, even when I didn't feel comfortable doing it, is just something I naturally just took to. And I've always kind of been creative. I used to draw a lot when I was younger until a teacher told me, or somebody told me my drawing sucked and I stopped drawing. That's a whole nother conversation. Oh yeah, that's a whole thing.
That's so
Yeah.
sad.
That's why I tell my daughter, keep doing it, right? Don't listen to what people say. One person's opinion is not, but when you're young, you don't think about that.
The power that teachers have that can really harm.
It really
and impact.
harm or help. And I know, because as a therapist, it's very much the same. If you don't take into account how you speak to people, what you say to folk, you can really do some damage that people may not recover from. Right.
Yeah.
And it could be as maybe, I'll say small, right, for the sake of conversation, as telling the kid his doodles don't look good or whatever the teacher said, as large as you're stupid, you're dumb, you're never going to make it, those things. And I've heard different variations of all of that growing up, which is further to my point. So now I'm dealing with this emotional kind of stuff. And my mom used to put me and my brother into like different enrichment programs. So about third grade, I won't say second or third grade, I tested into our gifted program at the school I was at. Now, the gifted program that my daughter's in now and what I grew up with are two totally different things. The gifted program I grew up with, I promise I wish every student had this opportunity, because we did stuff that nobody would do. So we would get these different enrichment opportunities. One place was Wright State University, a college near where I'm from in Dayton, Ohio. And one of them was acting. And we used to show up. We used to do improv. We used to do all the warm-ups. We did all of that for weeks at a time. Weeks at a time. And I might be my daughter's age, 9, 10 years old, right? And in doing this, once we did the final presentation, killed it. In the gifted program, we did kabuki theater. We did Cinderella. And I was the evil godmother. This is before this was like, and they did my face.
It's a great part.
It was, hindsight, we didn't care about that gender, nothing like that. We just were kids having fun. Killed that part.
Which is great.
And that's what I'm saying. Our teacher was so dope, and like our program was so like ahead of its time that, like I said, I really feel bad. Like when I hear what my daughter does, and it's not to, disparage the school she's at and the teacher, nothing like that. Just saying that the experience is like totally different. I'm like, what's doing a gifted program? Trying to sit and talk. What? No, like you're supposed to be doing projects and acting, and
you got to experience, right?
That's the whole point, right? And of course, the separation, that's a whole other conversation, who's gifted, who's not. I think everybody's gifted in their own ways. However, that, again, further fed this desire, right, to be in front of people, be seen, to connect with people in this way, creatively. Simultaneously, me and one of my good friends, his rap name is Ill Poetic. I think he still does music. If you want to Google him, you'll find him. Little white guy, right? If you see us together, you'd be like, these two guys don't belong together. He was into rap. I was into rap. One of those enrichment programs was like a audio engineer or something like that. Old white guy with the, looked like Jerry Garcia, right? Had the, but he had the keyboards, and we would go in every Saturday, me, him, and one of my best friend, Luke. We would go in and he would show us how to do audio. And that's what we were talking earlier about, the sound and the wave and stuff. I forgot this too. We're just talking about this now. That's where I first learned it, because he showed us all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we had these keyboards, and we had to do a final project. And the final project was, we made our own rap song. I still remember most of my lyrics.
And how old are you? Like 10 to 12 at this?
10.
Yeah.
I was 10. That's my first thought. I'm 10 years old.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
We have a whole, and my friend still might have, my friend Tim, Ill Poetic, he still might have it, like on a tape somewhere. So then my mom got me a keyboard. I still have this keyboard to this day. It's at my house. Me and my daughter used it to play piano. Like, we would make beats, record songs on a little cassette tape. So that started my love with hip hop. At this same time, right, 10, 11, 12, 13 into high school, a lot of stuff with my biological father worsened, right? So I had a lot of emotional disturbances. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. That was also the time going into middle school or junior high when I was growing up. School was always easy for me up until, sixth grade. When we got into seventh grade and eighth grade, which is middle school, at the time where I was from, the emotional stuff started impacting my grades. So first quarter I was on a roll, and then from there it just tanked, almost to the point where I almost didn't get out of middle school. So let me go back again. You hear what I'm saying? Grew up gifted, good schoolwork wasn't hard, to middle school where I was doing in this, and it tanked. I was an athlete by that time. I was on the basketball team and different things like that. However, emotionally, I just had a hard time, and I really had a hard time adjusting, being around here. So the only thing I had, pause and go back a bit, I'm sorry. Around the same time too, my grandma saw me being creative and she bought me an old camcorder. So me and my friends in my neighborhood would record little movies.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll write the script because I learned how to write scripts in my gifted program. I would write the script. We would write the story. We would act it out. We had a big old field in our yard. We had like trees, like woods. We were making movies all the time. I did a little Rocky montage because boxing is my favorite sport. Well, we did all kind of stuff, right? This continued, up through middle school because this was my therapeutic outlet, right? I can say this now in hindsight. At the time, I didn't know what I was doing. If I was going through something emotionally, the stuff that me and my dad were going through or not going through impacted my life at home. My mom got married to my stepdad. That was a whole adjustment. I wasn't really fitting in. I was awkward going through puberty, right? I had a lot of stuff going on. And so music was how I was getting these emotions and feelings out.
Yeah.
And nice. I'm writing. So I didn't journal. I tried to do the diary thing and journal thing. It's never worked for me. But if I wrote a song about it or I wrote it out in lyric form, it really connected to me. It's why part of the reason why my daughter's name is Lyric is for that reason. She doesn't know that. That's part of the reason why.
That's beautiful. Oh, what a beautiful name.
Yeah, because Lyric got me through hard times, and her birth did the same thing for me, right? So, saying that to say, speaking to the training, right, that we did in May, Tupac resonated with me, right? He was the first person I heard say, "Holla if you hear me." That's where that came from, right? So I'm listening to this stuff in this art form that was really telling stories, and Biggie, and listen to his whole album, and I couldn't listen to it. So I'm a preacher's kid, right? So my family's been deep in the church as long as I've been alive, and before I went alive, actually. So we couldn't listen to devil music. So I had to sneak and listen to rap. My mom found it. She would throw it away. She'd break it in front of my face and all this other stuff.
Oh, no.
Now she's my biggest fan. She
right.
When I used to do music, she knew all the words to my songs and all that stuff. So to move the story forward, I've been writing rap. So get through high school. High school was rough, barely graduate. All right. I don't want to spend the whole time telling this story. And we get to college. And now I'm a young man, still wrestling with the stuff with my father and bunch of other emotional stuff I was dealing with. And now I have friends who are being murdered. And one summer was really bad in Ohio. And, I didn't know what to do. Thankfully, around this time, I met my mentor, Dr. Boyka Tway. My first person I would say is my mentor. I have a lot of mentors now, but he was the first one I would say was my mentor. He saw something in me I didn't see in myself. He appointed me to be a leader of our basically Black Student Union, but we called it African American Culture Club at the time. First time he met me, he said, you are president now. And I've been on a journey ever since, from him to seeing that. And actually, his son is one of my best friends. We do music together, right? So me and him connected over hip hop again. And actually, both of his sons. He has a younger son. When I was performing back home in Ohio, I'm jumping ahead in the story a bit. He was like, you would say hype man, or like my partner on the stage. So,
oh, nice.
So there's this through line, right, of like how this music is kind of making these connections and telling these stories, right? And so at this time, I'm 19, and he was very community based. So we did work in our community. We would go into some of the worst neighborhoods where I'm from and work with kids, and go into high schools and work with kids. And we used culture and history, but we told it through story, and we told it through creativity, and we told it through hip hop. So I leave that school I was at. I transferred to Wittenberg, where I ended up graduating from. And now I started getting comfortable with rapping in front of people. For all those years I told you about, I was just writing stuff down, maybe recording it with my friends, but I wasn't confident enough with myself to put it out there. So all that stuff I learned as a kid, all that stuff I was doing as a kid, the acting, the speaking in front of people in the church, and all that stuff, all that got inverted around middle school. So I went from this to this, right? I don't know if people can see it. I want to be extroverted to introverted. Y'all may not be able to see what I just did, so I want to make sure I said thank you. And so, but around that time, because in the culture club and being the president, I had to go to meetings, I had to talk to students, we put on events, so I had to get in front of people again. So that was the first time I actually performed music. And I go to this college where I go from being maybe not the majority, but I had a large enough people who looked like me in the space where I felt comfortable to it completely shifted. We were 6% of the student population on my campus. We had about 2,200 folks. Y'all can do the math, maybe about 100 of us there. So even though it was near my home, you know, when you're in college, you ain't going home every day. You know, we stuck together. And in the midst of that, I met who I would consider one of my other mentors, Dr. Chief Doubt, my sociology professor, white guy from Canada, right? Dr. Boy Katwe is from Liberia. Long locks all the way down his back. Dr. Chief Doubt looks like Rick and Morty. And he's smart like that too. Like Dr. Doubt.
That's a good
these two guys are
somebody.
These two guys are so brilliant, right? And I got a chance to learn from them, and they called me a second son. This is like the beauty of these stories and connecting to humans, right? This is why I love what I do so much. Because you can learn from anybody if you humble yourself and want to learn. So I mentioned this with Dr. Doubt because now he's kind of pushing me in his own way to be out there more. Like at Wittenberg, I say this to anybody, you know, why I value liberal arts education. At Wittenberg, man, you could do whatever you wanted to do. You know, I was the hip hop director of our radio station. So I got to listen. I got to listen to other people's music. I got to play my own music. Every Friday, we had a Freestyle Friday where I would get on the radio and freestyle. Other people would get on the radio and freestyle. What? And I didn't know this, right? I didn't know this. In the town we were in, Springfield, Ohio, people were listening. When people would find out who I was, they're like, you know what, man? I think I heard you. You be rapping on the radio? I heard you on the radio. What? Just like you said, I've heard your voice before. Same thing, right? Or people will call in, hey, man, I'm at work, and I just wanted to say, I appreciate you playing it. This is what's happening now. So now I'm starting to come even more out of my shell, right? Because now I'm in an environment that kind of supports that. And in this small campus, I was one of a few people who actually rapped. So there was a guy who, you know, stoner kid, you know what I'm saying? He just liked to, you know, smoke and hang out. You know, his parents were well off. He was there, but he wasn't there.
Not typical, but college kid. Yeah.
There you go. You know, but he had a studio. He was he had like his major was something that's like accounting or something like that. But he had a studio in his dorm room. And I was playing football. I would skip football practice to go record.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I knew I was on to something. Simultaneously, and I just told this story, I started back acting again. There was a young lady on our campus who was a theater major. She had like her senior thesis or whatever. And she wanted, again, such a small group. She wanted people to act in this thing. So I don't know, maybe she just saw something like, hey, there's these roles I want you to play. One role was like this really militant guy, which was easy. At the time, I was very much a rabble rouser. So that wasn't hard. There was another role where it was more like a black man wrestling with fitting in and staying authentic to himself. Mm-hmm. And that role was harder to connect to. So when we did our first dress rehearsal, me and one of my good friends, it was like there's two of us in this last one. We sucked. Like it was bad. He didn't know his lines, and him not knowing his lines threw me off of my lines. No. And so we just looked terrible. You could tell she was upset. No. One thing I'll say about me, and I don't know if this is just a Ohio thing or what, but if we like feel like we're challenged in a way, we tend to like take that personally and really want to run it up. Like we're going to take this to the next level. And So me and my friend, we stayed up all night and we just studied the lines and went back and forth and tried different things. And it tapped me back into that skill set, right? And
Mm-hmm.
did it the next day, standing ovations both times. All right. Now
That's
again,
brilliant.
I'm also performing now. Now I'm actually going other places, going to other college campuses. I'm going to different little bars and dives performing. And so now that improv, that storytelling, that performance ability, I have to use it. I remember one time I went to a place, started freestyling, and I got booed. I never been booed in my life. And people were making fun of me.
Man.
Like the ride back from where we were, the people in my car were like, the people who I was riding with were just making fun of me the whole time. But again, I told you this, that it's okay because I learned something about myself. I said that would never happen again. Right? I didn't read the room. I thought if you go up there and rap and you sound good, people would like you. No. Again, I had to tap back into these things. So now I just start performing everywhere. Right? I'm gonna tie all this in, I promise you.
This is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm performing, right? And I'm doing it a lot. And so now I'm starting to learn certain things. Certain songs that I like may not resonate with the crowd. This song might be deeply personal to me, something that I really feel deeply in my heart. Because I put my pain and soul into it. They don't care about that. Maybe the beat it's too slow, or it's this, or it's that. So I started to learn. And I'm also at that time, I'm DJing. So as I'm DJing, I'm paying attention to what music moves the crowd. I'm paying attention to when to drop music out. I'm paying attention to how if a song, if I want to set up a big song, how I got to use my voice. I'm hosting parties now. So now I'm talking to people and I'm seeing how I can use my words, and I'm just putting this all back into this pot. Because at the time now I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in school. I had difficulties with that. Because at the time, I had undiagnosed ADHD. So some of my issues with school were the fact that I had ADHD, that I just found this out a few years ago. But it all made sense after the fact. So that was part of my struggle. The other part was just, again, this internal, external fight I was having with my identity. And so now I'm in my early 20s, getting out of school, and I'm performing. I'm doing well. With the type of music that I do, there's a limit to where I'm from, right? Dayton is a lot like, a lot of mid-major cities, a few 100,000 people. It's near Cincinnati, near Columbus. But Ohio isn't like a hotbed for the music scene anymore. Dayton was big when the funk, Roger Troutman and Ohio players, stuff like that. But it's like the early 2000s at this time. So fast forward, I'm kind of capped out, right? I'm still jumping in different parts of the story, but I want to stay on track. I cap out and I say, okay, I'm talking to my mom one day and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Go back. One of my good friends, we graduated together. He went to Eastern Michigan for college, and he left because he wanted to get into film. He left and went to LA. And every so he would come home during the holidays. So one holiday he comes home, we're hanging out, going to different clubs and bars and stuff, and he sees me perform and he sees me with other people. And, he asked me a real serious question. He's been a good plug for a few things. So I want to shout Kenny Taylor out. He's a really, really solid dude. He was like, hey man, how long you gonna stay here? I'm thinking he's talking about staying at the club. Oh, well, about to let out. We can leave and go get something to eat, whatever. How long you staying here and date? I'm like, what you mean? He's like, man, ain't nothing here for you, man. Look at you performing, people you don't even know are coming to see you perform. People you don't know your music. How far can you go here, right? And he planted the seed, and I talked to my mom about it. I said, he's out in LA, but I got some family out in LA, but now I'm not close to him. And I'm thinking about the hotbeds of the industry. And he says, New York. I'm thinking about New York. I don't know nobody in New York.
Right.
And to be fair, I'm kind of sick of the cold. Like, I'm from Ohio, man. I didn't see blizzards up to my kneecap. Like, I'm cool with being cold again.
I was gonna say, all the time. Yeah.
What's the point? And so about Atlanta. So now here in Atlanta, my good friend, I told you, Dr. Tway, his oldest son, one of my best friends, Iman Small Eyes Tway. He's down in Morehouse. That's his name, Small Eyes, right? He's down in Morehouse. And we're doing music now. So he's like, hey man, you're thinking about coming to Atlanta. And I have my aunt, my mom's sister lives in Atlanta. So I'm like, okay, I got family. And Atlanta's what, 8-hour ride back and forth to Ohio. If I need to get back home, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So
Drivable.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
and at that time, Atlanta, and it still is to an extent, was the hotbed for the industry, right?
Yeah.
This
Definitely
is
still
during,
is, I would
yeah,
say.
it still is.
Yeah.
But this is when it's like this is like the Lil Jon, T.I., Yin Yang Twins,
Right.
like Jeezy, Gucci Mane. This is when it's really starting to like boom, right? That mid 2000s. So I'm like, Atlanta's the move. So I moved to Atlanta initially to pursue music. Again, acting is still around, but music was the goal. I'm moving around Atlanta, trying to figure it out because it's a whole different scene. It's totally different. And
Yeah.
I end up, my friend, right, Kenny, the same guy, he was working on a commercial set for Hyundai. He called me one day, he said, hey, bro, I'm going to be in Atlanta. I'm like, cool, we can link up. He said, nah, I'm here for work. It's this new type of commercial they're doing for Hyundai. I need you to come up here and just come up here and see if you can get in this commercial. I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm not thinking nothing about it. And so I get me and one of my other good friends to go up there, and I see him. So I go up, start talking to him. He say, hey, man, don't act like you know me, man. Don't act like you know me. Just, I'm like, oh, so we go around the corner and say, hey, man, they don't need to know I know you, because then you might not get, this
Yeah,
opportunity.
it's true.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm still confused. What are you talking about? He look, there's going to be a camera in the car. Be yourself, but be a little extra. And you're going to get in this commercial. I'm like, man, whatever. So it's like a little, in the parking lot, they have a little like drive-in kind of, area or whatever. And I'm like, all right, again, I'm not taking it seriously at all. She's like, nah, man, like this is a real thing. Like, I wouldn't be out here if it wasn't, so many words. So me and my friend, we get in this car and we talk like we regularly talk, but we, again, he said, put a little bit extra on it, right? I go back into this. This is all top of the head. We just talking, and I'm just kind of playing off of him.
All
and
improv.
We're making it all improv, right? All improv. I want y'all listeners to just go with this story and hope y'all hearing the through lines and the themes that are coming out. Now I'm like, all right, cool. I don't think nothing of it. One day I get a phone call. Hey, you Lamarr? I'm like, yeah, this is my first. I'm thinking it's a bill collector. I don't know who it is. Ladies, hey, we want you to be a part of this commercial. And it pays this and it does that. I'm like, and you'll be SAG affiliated or whatever the case may be. I'm like, what? I'm like in shock, right? Because mind you, you asked me about mental health. This whole time in life, when I met Dr. Tway, he's a psychologist. I've worked in mental health. I worked with kids in foster care, kids in residential facilities, or you might know it as a group home. I've worked in the community. At this time, I'm working in the community, working with young people, teaching them skills, like life skills, anger management skills, coping skills, etc. So this is all taking place while
so that was kind of the
career.
day job kind of work. Yeah. Okay.
In my mind, right? In my mind, this is the day job. This is just funneling the dream. It's paying for me to go to the studio. It's paying for me to get into these showcases. But I'm not, I like what I do. I like helping folks, but this ain't the goal. The goal is, what I call a lottery ticket, right? Getting this record deal or getting in a movie or something. So this is my first lottery ticket to cashed out. Woo! Then they call back and say, hey, man, we looked at your footage again. We want to make another commercial. There's a commercial that's going to be on TV. Then a commercial that's going to be like this is when YouTube was new. Right? On this thing called YouTube and on the internet that we're going to show for Hyundai. I'm like ecstatic. I get the first check. I said, I've been in the wrong field my whole life, right? People are calling me. I don't even talk to and like. People are all in my phone. I don't remember. Some people
isn't that sad?
Oh,
too? Like you do one commercial and like you do all this work for the community. People, anyway, I know that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. We could that could be a podcast in itself, right?
Right.
People are hitting me up, borrowing money, not paying it back. It's been a whole mess, right?
Oh,
it's crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was a crazy time. I can remember being out somewhere and the commercial coming on TV while I'm out, and people are like, "Oh, that was you!" Like it was crazy, right? So now the acting bug is kicked in because my friend called me like, "Hey, man, you affiliated with SAG. You need to start getting out there and getting some work." This is before, right around time again, Atlanta's also ascending into this film, right? So I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. I don't know what to do. Started getting into these different casting calls and getting into different little independent films and things like that. So the acting bug is coming back. But I'm still doing the music. And so now I'm also tapping it back into my creative writing, to telling stories, because there's so many different things I'm seeing and I'm experiencing that I want to turn into something. Now I can see it. And even when I wrote songs and created music, my style is to make what I'm saying visual to you. So when I'm saying it, you can see what I'm saying. And I think that element had been honed over time, right? But now I'm getting older and I'm working, quote unquote, a regular job. I hate it. So I ended up going to get my master's because I hated this job. And I'm going to get my master's in counseling because I don't really know what else to do, right? Again, counseling and mental health, all that stuff, something I was good at. So I thought, but it wasn't what I was trying to do. I'm trying to be.
That's the day job, right? Yeah, it's
trying to
funneling
be
the dream.
Funneling the dream, hustling while I work. This is just something I do because I'm good at it to make some money. And in hindsight 2020, if I really wanted to make some money, I wouldn't have done mental health because, this ain't the profession you take and try to get paid, right?
We're both laughing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get rich. I'm going to go be a therapist. That's not. But anyway, so I get into this work. I start going to school. I'm getting older. So at this time, it's different now. But this time, you start getting into your late 20s, early 30s, and you're still like pursuing like a dream. And it's not, you got a little bit of success. And I did have some success to the expectation. I thought probably not. But you start getting some success, and people start asking you like, okay, what are you doing with your life kind of thing?
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, I'm 30 something years old. I'll just go to school, get the degree. But if something jump off, I'm leaving.
Right.
And I get my first class.
1 foot in, 1 foot out, right?
Always, right? 1 foot in, like it really, really was. Things started clicking in my master's program where I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, now this makes sense. Because previously I didn't get a whole bunch of formal training in behavioral health, mental health, things like that. I didn't know. And even in the school I went to, it didn't present the breadth of options that you can receive from this education. And that's going to play into the initial question you had. So now I'm trying to be in school. I got a family I'm taking care of. And I'm like, now I'm still trying to pursue this dream. And it just wasn't, you can't do it all.
It's a lot of moving parts.
And I'm an involved dad. My son's young, you know what I mean? I'm trying to take care of him. Just before my daughter was born, and my daughter is born, and trying to, sustain a relationship with, my wife, which was my wife at the time, but, all these different things. And so
it's hard with kids. It's hard.
It is. It becomes hard, just with a family in general. Then I had a lot of life stuff happening, as we all do, right? I don't want to make it seem larger than others, but, I had some stuff going on all around the same time. So something inevitably fell off, and it was the music and the creative side. So I thought. So I'm working, I'm in school, doing the family thing or whatever. Didn't have this creative outlet. And so around that time, me and one of my best friends, Charles is one of the most gifted people I know. He's really bright and creative. And for some of his own stuff, hasn't been able to, get over that hump. And so I've always wanted to like do stuff with him to just help, right? And we bring a lot of those movies I mentioned to you way back in the day. He was the one we were coming up with these ideas together. And so I'm like, yo, we had all these crazy ideas we had as kids. Let's do something. So we created this idea for a script for a movie. And then we're starting to write it. And then I brought in a couple of my other friends, Burks and Omar. Omar's a videographer, and Burks is just another creative guy like me. He rapped with me on my album. Now he's my best friend now. But at the time, he's just another guy who I got creative with. So I bring all these people together, and we're like, all right, cool. So what we doing now, y'all? We collaborate. All this stuff is going to circle back. Y'all, I'm trying to tell y'all. So bringing all this stuff together, right? Bringing all these people together. And so now we take the script that we had and we turning it into like a web series or like, whatever.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm like, cool. Well, this is, 2016, 2017, something like that. And the original major script, my friend, I talked about it with him, gave him some ideas, and he wrote it, my friend Charles. So it was his idea first. Like the script was his. And then in the midst of talking to the other guys, we started, storyboarding and writing stuff out and throwing ideas out and nah, maybe not, or yeah, that's cool. Why about this? And so then one day I was at work. I worked in a program for people with severe persistent mental illness. And when they were in group, if I wasn't leading the group at that time, I just had to kind of sit there and kind of, support the other person in the program, leading the groups or whatever. So one day I just got inspired and I just wrote 3 or 4 scripts. Was again, back in the day, I did that all the time. If my mom had her old computer and old time, like I had so many books and scripts. I remember I wanted to create a writing thing or a speech thing when I was younger. All these things that I forgot I had done. So now I'm writing this script. And the scripts, I'm like, oh, this is cool. So now I started writing a whole bunch of scripts. And I'm like, oh, this is what I can do with that music energy, right? Is write these things out, create these stories. But scripts, just like doing music, doing anything else, there's still a process to getting something from your idea to actually getting it to fruition. So, after you still got to have fun, you got to have so many things you got to have, even if you're doing it yourself, that if you don't have someone to finance it, right, it's just a good idea. Or it's not going to be executed appropriately. So that collaboration kind of dissolved because it was kind of like, okay, we got the content written. Now what do we do? So I just kind of stopped that. So now, fast forward, we're in the pandemic. I've been working in this field for a while. I've been working in human services, mental health, behavioral health over half my life.
Ooh.
And
yeah.
So now
very
I'm kind of
rough
like,
time.
very rough time. Pandemic is rough for everybody.
Yeah.
Also during this time, the job I was at, where I was in the program, now I'm running the program, but I wasn't fulfilled. Again, going through a lot of life stuff, and I can go back to say this in 2016, around the time when I was kind of stopping the music, one of my best friends died by suicide. We used to DJ together, do parties together and stuff. He supported my music career, right? And so I began to notice men's mental health. This is before it became a trend. Like now it's something everybody is a little more aware of. But back then, nobody was really talking about it because behavioral health, mental health, even public health, from my experience, are still like woman-dominated kind of industries for many reasons. I'm not going to get into all of that. But that's my subjective observation. So I'm like, man, there's something here. I need to kind of support this. And so I'm wrestling with this and other really close deaths I've had in my family, in my life. And then in 2019, my uncle, my dad's brother passed away. And he was so I told you I wasn't close to that side of my family. He was the only person, or him and my cousin were the only person I was really close to besides my brothers on that side of my family. When he passed, that was a whole thing.
That's rough. Yeah.
In the middle of COVID. And I'm also, so now COVID hits and I have to keep my staff employed. So I start providing and training. So they said, you got to do something. And I also was looking for training. So long as they were doing something to help them get better. We didn't know that time, you didn't know, we thought COVID was going to be done in a couple of weeks. We didn't know it was going to be.
Right. I know.
Years, right. So I'm at the job and they're like, okay, I'm looking for trainings and I find something through Region 4 Public Health Training Center, which is out of Emory University for public health professionals. So I'm thinking there's some topic that was kind of parallel to what we do. So I just got it, sent it out. And now I'm on the training, sitting on it. And the lady at the end, her name is Hillary Merlin, and her sister actually does improv as well. Oh. Now look at how improv is working, right? So Hillary, she was like the coordinator of it. And at the end of it, she said, hey, if you have something you want to talk about or train on, we pay. Something like that. And hey, let's figure out. So I sent an email like I do. I'll send you an email. I'll reach out to you you said talked, same. We collaborated, bounced ideas back and forth. She asked me about what I was good at, what I did. I said, hey, I'm a therapist. So she's like, you want to do something on self-care? Yeah, for sure. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, if you remember, and y'all who listen to remember, we did in COVID, it was free everything, free webinars, free this, free that, free continuing
All
education,
webinars too, right? Because
everything,
that's all we
right?
had. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
I'm like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and do, so I've studied enough, I've learned enough, I've read enough self-help books. Like, I've done a lot of stuff in this self-development space for my own personal growth and development, right? But also just helping other people. So I kind of know the book, you need to be mindful, you need to be present, you need to drink water, you need to work out, you need to blah, 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 blah. That's what my training was, that's what it was becoming. And then one day I was watching a person who has a similar credential to me, but this person did not, to me, display just some of the core characteristics of what like a therapist or a helper or a healer, right, would do. Some stuff they were saying. This time we're all online, right? So on YouTube, I'm watching these different people. I'm like, this person, they're therapists, they're psychologists, we're supposed to do no harm, but you're saying very harmful things. Like, it just didn't.
Oh.
And so I'm working on this presentation and I just stopped. And I said, you know what? I'm giving something that they can get anywhere. But what is something like, what's my unique vantage point, right? What is this thing? What I want them to feel, take away from the experience, which again goes back to everything from the beginning, right? So I threw everything away. I redid everything. And that ability to adapt and adjust and be in tune and move in the moment was cultivated all those years ago with all those other experiences. And so I did this webinar. They loved it. They brought me back and said, hey, can you do some more stuff about leadership? Cool. That's the holistic leadership. The workbook you mentioned came out of this opportunity through Region 4 Public Health Training Center.
Oh,
because I was,
cool.
I was giving this stuff away. And my mom was like, hold on, you can make a book out of this. Pause. My mom, y'all might be able, y'all can't see this shirt. You can see it. She helps people get published. So she When I See Me BIPOC Children's Book Fair. She does a book fair back home every year for children of color, all children really, but specifically children of color who may not see representation all the time in book. Opportunity to see and meet authors, right? So that's how my daughter became a published author, through my mom creating a book, When I See Me. That's why I wanted to do a shameless plug.
That's amazing.
Right? So we're going back to the storyteller thing, for sure. You can turn this into a book. So
it runs in the family.
Turn it into a book. Indeed, right? We turned it into a book. So now I'm still at this other job though. So this is like a side hustle. So when you mentioned having my consulting business for however long I've had it, it was always on the side. I've always helped other organizations, but it was never like my full-time thing. It was just like, hey, Lamarr, this company needs help with this. Can you come through? Usually during audits and behavioral health, mental health, and anything really. But just if you got an audit for your taxes, places I work with, we get Medicaid and Medicare, right? So they pay out, but every year they're going to come in and audit your files, audit everything, make sure you're on target. So when organizations having trouble, I have a friend of mine who was a part of something, he would call me and say, hey, yo, they need such and such. Can you come through? Yeah, man, yeah. And it will be, outside money, right? Now we're into 2021, right? I've been doing the thing for Emory for a little bit. I'm in Region 4 Public Health Training Center. And now I'm doing a few more. Now I've got the books and I'm reaching out to different places and things are just now slightly starting to open up as far as doing face-to-face things. Right. So long story short, there's so many nuances. Caveat till I say, me and my daughter actually got COVID at the same time. And while I'm sick, I got it bad. Like I was in the room, vampire in the dark, right? Lost like 20 pounds. It was rough. And during this time, there's some things that would happen at my previous employer that, didn't sit right with me. And it did like that for a while. But I just kind of pushed through because again, when you got mouths to feed, you got responsibilities, I just need to keep this job. But when I got COVID, I was kind of like, yo, I don't really, if something happens to me, I don't have anything to leave as far as mine. right? I can't leave my kids this job. If I go, they're gonna put somebody else in my place. It's gonna keep going. But what about
Yeah.
what I wanted to build? And you asked something earlier, or you mentioned something earlier that I want to tie in right here. That me looking at, doing music or acting or wanting to be this big star or things like that, I never got into it for that. Only got into that once I got some accolades, right? Or some financial reward. I got into this stuff because I didn't want other kids to go through what I went through. Right. I wanted to give other people a voice. I wanted to say something, make people think differently, right? And so with that acting or rapping at the time, that's the only reason why I was doing it. And so that's that same principle, those same beliefs, right? It's still what drives me today. And to speed all the way through, because there's so much more to the story, but we got other stuff to talk about. Like I've been able to merge the same process, right? I used to be creative when I was making songs, when I was writing scripts, when I was preparing for a role or whatever the case may be. It's the same process. I have these ideas, I scribble them out, jot them down, I start formulating them, I put them on a Word doc, then I put them in order, then I put them on a PowerPoint slide. Then I start trying to practice the beats. I start practicing little catch, little lines, little phrases I want to say. Then I'm in the moment and I'm doing it. I'm actually, because I know the content now, I'm actually able to improvise. There have been times where, and this is where improv is so vital for what I do, especially face to face. If I'm in the moment, I got this content. I can keep clicking through this slide, but because of my unique perspective as a therapist and just as a human who feels, right? A human whose greatest superpower is empathy, a person who feels for other humans. I can say something, be in a space, I can see the shift. Now, then it's incumbent upon me to be like, you know what? I can just go through, or I can sit on this and start asking questions and getting more feedback, right? And so that gift, right, is something that I don't take lightly. So there's also a skill to be able to see that and adapt into the moment. And that's where it was forged initially in improv. There have been times where, a good example, I was doing something somewhere and we were talking about communication. And off the top of my head, I just brought out yes and. I mean, everybody stand up, and we did it a few different ways, a few different times. And it totally shifted the energy of the room because there was a lot of, stopping other people's ideas. There was a lot of over talking. There was a lot of one person in the room speaking the most. But one thing I love about improv, especially that activity, is letting everybody has something to say. Everybody has something to add. And you're not diminishing a person's addition. You just add into it. And it's amazing how those of us who do it, we understand it. We think about it all the time. We're just default. Like you all may have heard here, and you may have caught it already, Dayna. I try not to say but anymore. I try to say and. So if I say but, I'll be like, and, right? And I've probably done it 2 or 3 times just talking to you. And
I do that too.
And those kind of things.
It's a mindset thing. It kind of like it just reframes your mindset a little bit. And certainly but like fits in natural sentences. But yeah, you kind of notice it when you become more aware. You're like,
absolutely.
I could fit an and there instead of a but. Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
And no. And what underlines the and, right? Adding to and not taking away from. That little gift right there is something that gets destroyed, dare I say, or eroded in various organizations and workplace environments. So back to how we initially met, right? When we're talking about psychological safety, that there is a psychologically safe intervention right there. We're not going to tear down another person's idea. We're going to add to it. If you can't add to it, just step out of the cipher. You know what I'm saying? Like when I used to battle rap, and we used to rap in the cipher, in the circle, for those who may not be able to see what I'm doing. If you ain't got nothing else to say, you got to get out the cipher. And then eventually that's how the battles start, because it starts, you could have 6 people, 8 people, 100 people. But eventually people start running out of stuff to say. and then it's down to two. And then whoever can last the longest with the most unique material is the one who wins. It's different now, but when I was growing up, that's how it was. And so it's the same with this. If I can't add to what, this person is suggesting, the least I can do is not tear it down. Now we can brainstorm. Now we can collaborate. Now we can figure out. That's what that collaborative communication kind of stems from. Again, is this, I think about Rick Rubin. He said something very impactful on me. I say all the time. We're talking about collaboration is doing the best thing for the whole thing. And if you're truly invested in the collaboration, you want the best idea to win, not your idea to win.
Exactly.
And that, to me, no matter how many definitions you come up with collaboration, that is the best one. Keeping that bigger picture in mind, what's the best idea? And if it's not your idea, how can we support the best idea? Because that's all that matters when we're talking about collaboration.
Well, and usually you can contribute to the best idea. Sometimes one person thinks of it, but usually if you're in a safe space with allowing for feedback, more ideas create the better and best idea.
And you learn that through, again, doing improv. I learned that in songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a long time, I didn't know people didn't write their own music. I thought if Michael Jackson sung the song, Michael Jackson wrote the song. I didn't know maybe Quincy Jones wrote it, or Smokey Robinson wrote it, or Stevie Wonder, or somebody else wrote the song, right? And so now that I've went through, because I used to write, not just songs for myself, but songs for other people. So I studied it. And then I started being able to pick up on who wrote certain songs by the way the singer inflected it, by the pacing. You can just tell by the music. It's funny, I was talking to somebody about Babyface, the singer, and he does a concert, but he does a lot of the concerts. I mean, most of the concert, I guess, is just songs that he's written for other people. And when he sings it, you're like, now I hear it. It sounds just like if you took his voice away, you took Tony Braxton's voice off, you put his in there, it sounds just like him. Bobby Brown, whoever are the people he's written for. So, to your point, if you look at the credits of a lot of songs, you see a whole bunch of names there. It's because, hey, one person didn't just write this more often than not. A lot of times it's a whole bunch of people, and I've been a part of it. Sometimes you're just in the studio and you're writing something with somebody, the beat's just playing, everybody's writing their own pieces, and somebody might just say, hey, instead of saying, hey, stay home, or instead of saying this, say that, or instead of doing this, what about that? And you just kind of bouncing ideas off each other until you get the best product. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, we feel like a lot of us, we taught at some age that we have to have the only answer and we can't be wrong.
We have to know it all. Yeah.
And it's like, no, like a lot of our greatest creations came by accident. Somebody kept messing up and said, oh, wait a minute, let me just put this wire here. Oh, we have electricity. Like, it's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like Edison was like, you know what, I think I got it. We didn't go, no, he kept messing up. And like,
exactly.
And all these different things. And that's what I love about psychological safety so much, is that you have to create environments where people are allowed to make mistakes and learn from them. As parents, we do the same thing. Yeah.
I forget that many workplaces don't have that culture to them. I've worked in employee wellness and well-being for over 10 years. And I think all my teams that I've worked with have created this culture of psychological safety within us because we have such a wellness background.
For sure.
But not every team has that.
And it's really unfortunate to, I appreciate when people get the aha moment when we talk about psychological safety, but it's also kind of disheartening at times because to me, it seems so fundamental. Right. And I mentioned like being a parent earlier, right? As a parent, of course, your kids are going to keep stuff from you. That's kind of part of it. But you also want to create a space. We always say, well, you tell me anything. What does that mean in real time? I want to create a space that my children can come talk to me, or my brothers or my friends or whomever can come talk to me. Yeah. And to be in a space where if you're making a mistake, and the more I've studied, psychological safety, one of the examples that was given in the book, The Fearless Organization, that Dr. Amy Edmondson wrote, right, is like how it was like in a hospital and like a nurse couldn't tell the doctor something wasn't right. And so how many people's lives were impacted? And I'm probably messing up the story a bit. I'm just kind of trying to distill it down.
Yeah.
But it was like
yeah.
where she couldn't tell the doctor, hey, you know, if you thought about doing it this way or thought about doing it that way, for whatever reasons. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. But the point is, who's impacted by the inability to just express this is the space that I need. Hey, can we challenge without fear of reprimand? Yo, I don't think this is the way. And you know, you don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be rude.
Yeah,
You can still
exactly.
express it in such a way, right, that people can receive what you're saying. Okay, there is another way to look at this. And those organizations that get that increased morale, increased engagement, increased cohesion, increased innovation, like we want that. How much of that is stifled because people are just afraid to speak up? They don't feel safe enough to speak up. And so as a therapist, much like you now kind of get into this organizational wellness and just creating the tagline for my company now is co-creating happy, healthy, and safe workspaces. How do we do that in real time? How do we create these spaces where people can be happy, healthy, and safe? You know?
Yeah. And not just physically safe.
That's what yep.
Psychologically safe too. Because there's always the safety coordinators, you know, making sure that the desks are set up, ergonomics are correct, you know, there's not harmful chemicals and stuff. That's very important. And that's been the focus for so long too. And sorry, you're getting me like started on the psychological safety because I feel like too, and I'm curious, just maybe not to go in a different direction, but
no, it's okay.
And not to get political, but I feel like I don't hear a lot about psychological safety as much right now with kind of the battle on DEI and how we can't even say DEI. And psychological safety is a huge part of DEI initiatives.
Absolutely.
So are you still able to do a lot of psychological safety work right now?
Yeah.
You got a front way or?
Yeah. So man, we're going there. Let's go ahead and go there.
No.
No, it's cool. I mean, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. And as I want to do, right, I'm going to say it through a story. What's this week? So maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was in Pittsburgh for a conference and I was doing a workshop on the human side of change management. And so, you know, we have change management, there's certifications for it, there's processes and procedures and all that stuff. And my unique vantage point is, we can do all the procedures. And I know all of that stuff, right? We can go do the SWOT analysis. We can do this, we can do that. That's fantastic. However, there's a human element to change that we often overlook. And so psychological safety is a big part of that when I do that presentation. So in the midst of me doing this change management, this human part of change management, I incorporate a area on psychological safety. And we just go through the 4 stages of psychological safety just to help folks to understand, right? And the way I have a slide, I have a picture. It kind of breaks it down more simply. Then I have like a hierarchy, right? You know, inclusion, all the way up to challenger. And my brain went blank for the other two, but it'll come to me. Inclusion, contributor, learner. Challenger, contributor, learner, inclusion. That's what I'm trying.
Boom.
So that challenger, right? Inclusion, I'm sorry. Can I be a part of this? Am I allowed to make mistakes? The learner safety part, right? Can I learn from these mistakes? Contributor safety. Can I contribute to what's happening with the team? And challenger safety. Can I have great ideas or can I say something different? Again, and not fear that reprimand or retribution. And so talking through that slide, talking through that with people, giving them examples, and then defining what psychological safety actually is, right? Being the space to create and take these interpersonal risks. And in a workplace, in an organization, because I'm using this as an example because a few people, when I do the end of my trainings now, I always say, hey, give me like your aha moment. Give me something you want to work on. Give me something you want to get better at. I don't like to say something you're going to stop doing, but something you're trying to get better at. And a few people in the moment were like, yo, just be able to define psychological safety and what it is. I've heard it.
It's been around for a while. I mean,
for a while, since the 90s. I didn't know it was around since the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in high school. So I ain't going to date myself, but I was in high school when this book came out. So let you know it's been around a while. And
Yeah.
yeah, she's like, and I've heard it, and people, like you said, really have a hard time with the concept. And so the other part to that, where people conflate it sometimes with emotional safety. So they're like, oh, so this is like me being able to, be touchy feely, share feelings that I woo woo. I'm like, kind of, sort of, not really. Like let's
Yeah.
make the distinction between the two, because emotional safety is really interpersonal, right? This is more like
Mhm.
organizational team kind of thing. Is there some correlation? For sure, right? If you feel safe enough to make mistakes, you probably feel safe enough to be open and vulnerable with a person. But when you conflate the two, sometimes you lose people and maybe getting the support. Like, it's easier for me to sell psychological safety if I say, hey, you want increased innovation? You want less HR issues? Do you want better cohesion with the team and team working together and collaborating? You might want to try this. It's an easier
Mhm.
sell than, hey, do you want to create workspaces where people can show up and be emotionally vulnerable with each other? Most,
No.
depending on who you're
Yeah,
talking
no.
to, that ain't the thing.
Because they think it's like sitting around the campfire singing Kumbaya kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It's like,
And it has nothing to
no,
do with
that's
that.
not
Nothing to
showing
do
up
with
to
it.
work in your pajamas, being authentically you. It's no, like
Right.
still be
Yeah.
professional.
Absolutely. And
You
and
still have
and
to
making
earn
that
trust and respect, like, and be accountable.
the two
Yeah,
biggest
I know.
things.
We
No, no,
yeah.
no. This
It's
is vital, because if we don't normalize, right, this kind of stuff through these type of conversations and make the connection between, like, you've been doing organizational wellness for a while. I've been working in human services for a while, right? And you've been a part of it. You may have been called to do it. I have come in for a team building thing, or come in for, these various things. And you do some improv, you talk to this guy, he helps you feel good and all this kind of stuff. Then you go right back to the same vein. Like,
mhm.
that's great. And don't get me wrong, please, if you want me to come to your place, I will come. We're gonna have a good old time. However, I'm also big, if y'all go back and hear the whole story, on making lasting change, right? No matter what I'm
Leaving
doing,
the
I want
world
something
better than
how
how
I
we
found
found
it.
it,
That's the whole
right?
point. Why have me come on, improv speaking, if I'm just gonna, well, this is, no, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna give you, so hopefully something I said in all of my verbal processing and all of my narrative thinking, you were able to take something I said and hold on to it. That was the point, right? And
Oh,
it's the same with this
absolutely.
with this kind of stuff, with psychological safety. And again, do we want emotionally safe spaces too? For sure. If we can start here, maybe we can get there. We can have more psychological safety, and we can have more emotionally safe places, right? Let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's create a space where people could at least just make a mistake. You know what I'm saying? But acknowledge the fact that our emotion attached to it. And that's where, to your point, because I told you before, I've been a rabble rouser a lot of my life. I always find ways to sneak it in,
Mm.
even if it's just my little icebreaker or something. And I always reference psychological safety, or I reference cultural humility, because cultural humility, to me, that going through that training through the University of Cal Berkeley Center for Cultural Humility, that's Dr.
Oh,
Zarelli
okay.
Zell. I want to shout him out. I don't know if they're at Berkeley anymore, but I found them because I got same way I got on psychological safety. I saw it. I was like, what is this? And around the same time we met, I started studying this cultural humility thing. They let me take this 2-day training on cultural humility. And it just was like, oh, we've taken cultural competence, we've taken cultural awareness, different things, but cultural humility is just different, where it really makes you acknowledge positionality, right? And you have to acknowledge there are power dynamics at play all the time.
Mhm.
Make you look at yourself and reflect. I'm a big on reflection, big on, you know, deep thinking and really knowing yourself. And cultural humility challenges those assumptions by saying, hey, how well do you know this other person? Maybe you should let them tell you who they are versus you making these generalized assumptions, right? Meeting a person where they are. And so, to your point about using certain language, I used to do a lot of cultural humility work, not too much anymore, but I'm still a culturally humble person. So I'm going to infuse it no matter what I do. I may not be able to say equity anymore. I may have to say access. Hey man, my mom punished me with a dictionary when I was little. I can find a word to say what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. The
It's
word
tough.
is like belonging now.
Yeah, that's another word for inclusion. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Equity,
know.
we came up with access, right? Diversity, I can remember what they said. But
Yeah.
there's a list of words,
We'll
right? And
find
now
a way around it to say the same thing.
and most people, I find in my experience, aren't as caught up on that. The words mean something for sure, and I don't want to diminish that at all. However, you can still challenge, right, in a way that you get your point across. But also, can I be honest? You still got to keep income coming in, right? So
Right. Yeah.
these things are applicable. Has it been more difficult? For sure. To answer your question directly, it's been very difficult this year regarding just the work that I do. And so when I get the chance to kind of authentically state certain things, I embrace it. But I'm also not
Yeah.
afraid of the challenge. Like I know in these times, the work that I do and you do and we do, and those of us who might be listening in our own circles of influence is even more important. It's even more important to tell these stories. It's even more important to connect. It's even more important to collaborate. It's even more important to build and not destroy. It's even more important to holler if you hear me. It's even more important to create these safe workplaces. It's more important now than it ever has been because I'm in the middle. I mean, we might be, you might be a little younger, but we in the same probably general age bracket, right? We're in the middle now. We're not, our parents, grandparents' age, but we not our kids' age or young people. We're right in that middle. And what we do when we get to that stage impacts what's happening behind us. So I can make
Yeah.
workplaces safer, happier, healthier than when my daughter gets to the workforce or as my son is in the workforce now, right? They can maybe eventually get to that space where I can show up as my authentic self and do the best work I can do. Because as artists, as creators, it's hard to create the best works of art if you just can't be you. Then you get into an
Yeah.
authentic, saying works. And I've been there. Hey Lamar,
Me
why don't you make
too.
a song about this? Okay. It may not resonate because it's not authentic to me. And or even as an actor or actress, right? I just was talking to my daughter about this. You have to be the part. You can tell when somebody's acting, trying to act. You tell somebody who that you forget. Wow,
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx ain't Ray Charles. Like he just
Right.
embodied it, right? And that's where I know it might be kind of like pie in the sky or aspirational, but like I want other people, just like I said earlier with the gifted program I was in, to be able to show up to their work and be immersed in it. Like I am when I
Yeah.
get into my work. I'm immersed in it. Like that's why I love the virtual options. I love the access it provides and the opportunity. But I really, really love the face to face. I'm immersed in it. It doesn't feel like work at all. Like I'm getting paid to do what I've done for free my whole life. Like the past 4 years when we kind of set that in the story, but it doesn't matter. When I left my previous employer,
Oh
kind of
yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
let that off. No, it's okay. This all we circling back. A lot of the issues we talking about is part of the reason why I left. I digress. We jumped
Yeah.
out. You jump out on faith, right? And now I get paid to do what I wanted to see, and I've been doing it for free. I talk to
Yeah.
people for free all day. Been doing it my whole life. Hey
Yeah.
Lamar, go talk to such and such. Hey Lamar, you got something to say? Talk to these kids. Like my whole life. Hey Lamar, get in front of the church and tell them about Easter. I don't know nothing about Easter. I got this funky suit on, looking crazy, but I'm gonna read this paper and tell the story and make y'all laugh and keep going. That's just So I've been doing it for free all this time, and it's one of those things I just wish other people got a chance to do. Now, part of that because I work for myself, and that has its drawbacks, right? But why can't people show up to a job that they want to do? And you're in public health, working in the trenches, trying to get people vaccinated. You're a mental health professional working in the community, and you're dealing with people recovering from substances. You're a teacher working in a school. You don't have enough resource. Like, why can't I still show up in these spaces where I shape human lives or I save human lives and just be immersed in it. Not just because I'm good at it, not just because I need a job, not because it got good benefits. All those things are great, but because this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm in a space that honors that and supports that. That's what I want, right? Really is what I need, but I'm talking for what I want to create as much as I can. And I find that what I learned from music, sometimes you gotta put it out and you may not get a return right away. But the more you put it out there, like I was saying earlier about consistently doing something, the more you say, okay, I threw this record out, it didn't really resonate. What didn't people like? Okay, let me go back and tweak. Let me change this. Let me change that. Maybe if I put the same words on a different beat. Maybe if I change it, then you start saying okay, people didn't resonate with this character. What am I missing? What is getting the context, like really stepping into it. Like we don't stop being creative just because we got a job. Right?
Yeah. But it feels that way. Sometimes when it's soul sucking and time crunching and all of the adjectives, like you're doing it for the paycheck. You lose that sense of creativity, and you said it in your story. You had some moments where you forgot you were creative.
For sure.
And a teacher told you weren't creative, or your doodles weren't good enough. So you thought, well, I'm not creative enough, right? There's so many forces at play that, if you have the mindset of I'm not creative, you'll see, other examples of, I'm not creative. Sure. But if you can change that mindset of I am creative, what else can you notice and be aware of that? Oh yeah, I am creative. Like I can do this. Yeah. And it's hard.
That's no. I mean, that's just like such an amazing reframe, right? I do this. It's so funny, man. This is so crazy. I do this sometimes when I do my collaborative communication trainings, and it's just that. But I put this in depending on what the need is. But it's a technique, right? Therapeutic technique. And again, we just reframe it. So I'm gonna just take what you just did and just make it and connect it with a story, right, to a point. That same story, right? If our reframing is looking at an experience or something, the same thing through a different lens, right? And so when we have these moments of negative self-talk or self-doubt, a good example I always give is that I used to say during those difficult times in my life when I was younger that I was a loser. I would say, I'm a loser. I would say just like that all the time. But I felt that way, right? Dad didn't want me. Girls didn't like me. I was picked on and ostracized in school. Things like that, right? Having a rough time at home, right? All these different adverse outcomes. I had family members, going to jail, people dying. It's all kind of, and I don't want to make it seem like I had a terrible life because I did not. I'm just shaping the confirmation bias, right? If these bad things happen to me, then I don't see all the good, right?
Yeah.
I want to use those examples specifically because if all I see, my dad don't care about me, I miss out on an amazing stepfather who was trying to connect with me, right? I miss out on all the men my mom introduced me to as far as, elders in the church or, basketball coaches or other people in my life, right? Who she was intentional about connecting me with solid men, my uncles, right? My older cousins and things like that. I missed all of that because I'm focused on what this one person is not doing. And I always go back and say in hindsight, that's why I'm so grateful for my grandfather and other men in my life. Like, I didn't get just one model of what a man is or one model of what fatherhood is. I got a chance to pick from a bunch of really solid guys. And then I can form what I wanted a man to be. It hasn't always been easy, but that was the beauty of me not having. I couldn't see that at that time. So back to reframing. If I say I'm a loser, I call that the negative me frame. So then what is the healthier, more positive reframe? People don't understand this, and I don't want to get super spiritual. Just want to just throw this out here. That I am is a creative statement. Right? I believe that. Whatever you say after I am, that's what it is. All right? If I say I am a loser, whether this is accurate or not, I begin to look at the world like I'm a loser. So I don't
Yep.
see wins, I only see losses. Like I said, I mentioned all those adverse things that have happened.
Right.
But I'm not the only person who's experienced any of those things. And that's what living a little bit and connecting with other humans has shown me. I'm not the only person who didn't have a dad or have people pass away or people go to jail or people go through this, or people go through that, had hard times. I'm not. In fact, all of us that went through hard times, it might be different, right? And so if I
Yeah.
approach people from that perspective, then I can help. If I don't look at all Dayna, well, she don't nothing I went through. She has no understanding about everything I'm going through. Then you miss that connection. So if I know I am is a creative statement, I always ask people, what's the emotions that come from saying I'm a loser? Just guess. And then people throw out different things. Oh, you're sad, you're depressed, you doubt yourself, all the negative outcomes for sure.
Yeah.
So there are emotions more often than not attached to the things we say. And those emotions lead to certain behavior. Now, we flip that, like you just said. If I say I'm a winner or I am creative, what are the emotions attached to that? Oh, you feel better. You got confidence. You got this, you got that. Right. This is an intentional practice you have to reframe these thoughts in real time. And then identify, if you can't reframe the thought, think about the behaviors that you're exhibiting. Oh, man, I lost out on this particular opportunity. People must not like the stuff I do.
Yeah.
The evidence don't support that, Lamarr. The evidence don't support that. Then you get to using that gift of your brain. Well, why? Well, what else could it be? And I think we don't give ourselves that grace to do that when we stick in that negative me frame. I know you're gonna say something. I mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, there's so much to unpack there, but I mean, definitely in business. So if you own your own business or you're doing it as a hustle, side hustle, like you have those kind of emotions a lot too.
For sure.
Like you just said, oh, I just lost out on business. They must hate me, or I don't have anything good to offer. No one's getting it. It's like, whoa. Calm down.
Yeah.
Ego, calm down. You're okay. This one didn't work out. Like my kind of mantra right now, my I am statement is I am worthy of success and support.
Absolutely.
And I've been saying that for the past 2 weeks or so. I am worthy of success and support. And so you asked about behaviors through that. Because I am worthy of success and support, I can advocate for myself, ask for what I want, ask for what I need at home and in business, right? And so, just having that positive statement, that positive refrain, and I didn't really connect the two, but as you said, I was like, oh, like just having that idea in my head has made me act in more positive behaviors. That's crazy, right? Isn't that like, it's so simple sounding, but it's so profound.
And that's the thing that, many of us do. I myself, I'm, a deep thinker and get all into my head about various things. And one of the best things, back to the storytelling aspect that we're talking about, sort of kind of the undercurrent up under everything, right, is the ability to kind of externalize what's in your head. So as you tell this story a different way, you can begin to look at it and say, okay, where are the wins? Where are the successes? Does this story make sense the way I'm telling it? Right? Or am I taking on, am I the hero in this story? Am I the victim? Am I the villain? What am I doing in this story? Right? As you're telling these stories, you begin to reshape narratives that you've been fed. Right? So one of the ones I was fed, I use this example all the time. And I preface this with I love my grandfather, right? So my grandfather grew up in a different time. Let's say as a black man. I tell people all the time, he was 12 when Emmett Till got killed. So he actually would have been, now I said out loud, it would have been around the same age as Emmett Till when Emmett Till got killed. And grew up in abject poverty, had it rough coming up, got into the military, lived a rough life, had a lot of trauma, unresolved trauma. All right. And so I say that because one of the things he used to tell me, this was like before affirmative action, went into affirmative action, and that whole phase, right after the civil rights movement. He was generally probably one of the only black men in the certain spaces he occupied. This is all going to be relevant to everybody in a second. So one thing you tell me, basically, don't take any days off. If you can work 20 hours a day, he said this is verbatim. If you work 20 hours a day, work 20 hours a day, sleep 4, and get back to it. As a black man, you ain't got no margin of error. You got to get it however you can get it. You got to be that much better than everybody else. Black men, black women, white men, white women, Asian, whoever, you'll be better than everybody. Because if you know you're not going to get any chances. This is the narrative I was since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I always pause and ask people, if Lamarr has this narrative, now I'm a leader, and you come to me talking about you need to take a day off because you're having a bad day, where's my empathy level at? Where's my ability to show concern? When I've been told,
expectations.
there you go, super high. And
yeah,
one of my good friends, he since passed away, he said something to me. He was one of the few people who noticed it. He said, Lamarr, because he used to work for me in the program that I was running. He said, Lamarr, I know you intentionally tone yourself down because you operate at the level that you usually do. You burn people out. And I said, he was so good to us. He would do that. He just was so, I can't describe. He just was so into it. He was so impactful to me as a leader because he really taught me it wasn't just skills. You got to know people. You got to know how to activate people, right? And understand people, not to activate them in a manipulative way, but to get them to see something in themselves they don't see. And see, when you are in your stuff, you don't do that. And so when he told me that, I was like, you're right. And nobody ever caught it. But I have intentionally throughout my whole life. Now let's go back. Like I said, we're going to keep using my life story. Middle school, I told you I started tanking. I intentionally started dumbing down because being a smart kid wasn't cool where I was in school. I was told I talked white. I thought white. You want to be a white boy because I didn't use the same words or I used certain words. These are phrases that I heard growing up.
You dimmed your light. Yeah.
At that moment, and my mom noticed it. She was like, I stopped. And it's funny. I was going through my garage and I was looking at cleaning it out for various reasons. I found a bunch of old pictures. And like throughout middle school to high school, maybe even into college, I never smiled.
Oh.
I didn't start smiling probably until my daughter was born. Yeah, I didn't really start. I'm like, where did my smile go? That was a real question. Like, where did my smile go? I know a lot of people are like that, but I felt like I had to put on this tough exterior to protect myself. And how many of us walk around in workspaces, right? Where based on our story and these narratives we were told, we had to put on a certain armor. And I'm not saying it ain't real. I'm not saying it's not helpful. All I ask people is it still working for you? And for me, dimming my light did not work for me anymore, right? And that realization is what prompted me to move forward and bet on myself and all those different things. And while it's been difficult this year, back to the initial question you asked about the culture, about psychological safety, DEI, and all that stuff. It doesn't negate the mission. The mission is still making this place better. And that don't mean it's going to be easy. That's literally encouraging a fight because making something better requires conflict. It requires struggle. It requires a shift.
It's a hero's journey.
It's a hero's journey. It literally is. And it doesn't have to, and nobody said it's going to be easy. But when you get when you get to the top of that hero's journey, you can come back with the gift. You can say, look, all this pain and all this struggle I went through, this is what I have to give. It makes it all worth it. When you see people get it, when you see people happier, when you see people excited to come back to work, you see people make that connection, or make that moment, or get it, or understand a person differently than they understood them before. They had this assumption about this person. But this moment, they get a chance to just be, and you can see them as who they are, as another human. You can honor that humanity. I came back with the gift. Everything, that whole story I gave you all in the beginning, hopefully you made it all the way to the end. You're like, oh my God, what is this guy talking about? But if you go through it,
it was perfect.
We just flowing. We just flowing. This nothing scripted. We just flowing. But I'm saying that because it's like, that's the gift. That's the thing I get to come back with, is that everything I went through led me here, right? And I've given me something to give. And learning how to adapt, accept criticism, accept feedback, take failure, work through my own process, accept what's mine and what's not, fix the problems that are mine to fix, disregard the rest, immerse myself in what I'm doing, truly love what I do. These are gifts that I get to bring to the world. Maybe it's not on a microphone. Maybe it's not on stage yet. Who knows? Maybe I might circle back. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, and with that being said, I'm still doing it. Like, it's the same area, right? It's the same process. Like I said, and that's the thing I don't want anybody to lose. I did a training yesterday, a leadership training, and we did a similar kind of reframing exercise. And at the end of the session, well, during the session, this is the beauty of facilitation and being a therapist, right? Because my therapist brain is different than most people. My brain's in most people's anyway, but definitely from the therapist. And so I'm picking up on themes. That's a gift and a skill we're taught. Is if you say something more than once a certain kind of way, then there's something there. So people are saying different things, and it was basically taking a squiggly and giving it to the person next to you. They're going to reinterpret it as something else, make it whatever. And you can see the people who were unsure of themselves. And then we go around the room and we share, hey, what'd you get? What'd you turn it into? And I tried to make it. I'm not really an artist. And I don't really think it didn't turn out how I wanted it. All this leading into it. And so after that, I'm taking my little notes, just like I took a note of what you said about your mantra. And I'm like, okay, some of us, like, listen to these phrases. I've read them all off. I don't know. I don't have, and I can't do, and all these different things. Does that display confidence to you as a leader? Right?
Yeah. Not at all.
Nobody said you had to be perfect, right? And we say that in cliche.
You put that expectation on yourself.
So now we gotta deal with that, right? What does perfection actually look like? And perfection can mean a few things. Perfection could mean without flaw, but it also means to reach full maturity. That didn't say reach full maturity without flaw. So I studied that dictionary. Why be studying? Because I want to understand, like, perfection is what it is, but to reach full maturity. That takes time. That's a process. Perfection is a process. And we may not ever get to be perfect without flaw, but we can be perfect as we can reach maturity. And talking to this young lady after the session, she was like, when you pointed that out, I never thought about that but I'm in this leadership training. I don't feel like I belong. But you making me question that just through that activity helps me to see now that I do have what it takes already. I just got to be more confident. Boom. That's the win. I'm done. The 3-4 hours I was there, that's what I came to do. If nobody else got nothing, that young lady is now aware of how her self-talk impacts her confidence in stuff she already knows how to do. That's the work, right?
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
these things people think are just kind of kitty game. No, you need to tap back into that kitty game every now and then. You need to tap back into these things to reawaken and reimagine life a different way. And like, I hope my passion is being conveyed when people hear this back.
100%.
I truly believe everything. We were talking earlier about the sound because it was low. And she's like, well, just when you get into your talking mode, just talk up a little bit. I'm like, well,
use your speaker voice.
That ain't going to be hard, right?
Lamarr, I want to just tie the whole storytelling piece together too, because we didn't even talk about the elements of storytelling, and yet you use them so well. I was taking some notes too, and you mentioned like your style is to make it visual, and you had so many examples of like how you make it visual. Like this one guy looks like maybe Jerry Garcia, and then this other guy looks like Rick from Rick and Morty, and like just you using those simple descriptions. I'm like, oh, now I can see a white guy that looks like Rick. Like I can see it now. And you paint these like visual pictures that just make it more interesting, more memorable, and really include us in the story. And I think that's a great example without even like doing kind of a slide like this is how you do storytelling and make it visual. Like you just modeled it for us. And I appreciate that. And I also want to comment on how I had a whole bunch of talking points and we covered all of them in some way, shape, or form.
That
But
always
how,
happens that way.
and you know what? That's what I want. Like I put that out there just in case we need it, but I want this. Like all of this that just happened is what I think any podcaster would want, and any
Sure.
not even podcaster, listener wants.
Sure.
They want the story side because the stories are what's more memorable. Like just doing question answer and you being like, and storytelling does this and the end. Like, no, we got the full on storytelling experience. And storytelling is so healing and cathartic because
Indeed.
not everyone gets to share their story
You took the
like
words
you
right out
do.
of my mouth. I was just going to say, if you didn't give the space, like I've
Mhm.
never, like I said it before I said it, like I don't think I've been asked the question that way to go. I've told different pieces of that story. And again, we probably could have spent even more. If I really there's still some stuff I kind of jumped over just because, but I say that because many of us, back to this kind of storytelling thing, we just don't get a chance to say, this is how I got here. To have somebody just be like, tell me more. Like,
or we don't feel like we are allowed to take up that much
yep.
time and space.
Yep.
Oh, I noticed when I was working on my previous job and I would get the chance to speak that I needed to make it quicker and faster. I would talk faster because I'm like, I'm taking up too much time of this meeting. I'm talking about employee wellness and we've got, this is a bigger board meeting. You got more important things like benefits to talk about. And so I'm going to talk really fast and get it done. And I'm like, how effective is that? Not at all. So I intentionally would slow down and be like, I have 10 minutes. I'm going to use my 10 minutes of time. But it took a while. That didn't happen overnight. It takes a while. But it's rare that you get the time and space. And honestly, just take it, own it. The more you're excited, I'm like, oh, I'm here. We're in it. We're in it for the 2+ hours. I'm listening. But if you're getting in your head going, oh, I'm going off track. I'm sorry. Then I'm like, oh, come on, So it's passion, it's confidence, showing up for yourself.
And I mean, I know now that I've learned more about ADHD, I know a big part of how my brain works is I verbally process, right? I tell people this all the time, especially when I do training. It's like my brain is like Tony Stark's computer on the Avengers, like it's in the sky. And so the more I talk, the more I get to the file I'm trying to get to, but I'm seeing it as I'm talking, right? And so as somebody said it a few days ago, we were, I can't remember who said it, a guy I was talking to, and he said, you think narratively. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's literally what it is. So I think this way, right? And so, and I also understand, to your point, there are times where I need to be more succinct, or there's times where people don't want to go on a journey, right? And that's okay.
Or you do really only have 10 minutes or something. Right. Or like a lot of storytelling, you get 5 minutes, right?
Right. Like you got to get to the point. But I'm a context person. I got into this work because I want to know why. Like, why does Dayna think this way? Why does she do what? Why is she doing? Why? That question consumes me with different situations. Like I know I can get to this is what's happening. Okay, well, the what is kind of easy, but why? Like, why is the what happening? That's the question I'm trying to answer, and or more importantly, help other people to answer. Right. And so if me sharing a story and that whole however long it was, you let me say what I needed to say, I'm hoping people catch those themes, right? Of collaboration, of overcoming self-doubt, of being adaptable, right? Being able to pivot and adjust, being able to ask for help to your mantra, right? Being able to re-identify what success is, finding to the hero's journey, right? Mentors and guides along the way, right? Being able to, just be open to new experiences. There's so many themes that undergird all of that, right? And recognizing that I can always tap back into it. Being able to take something from my past, adapt it, twist it, iterate it, flip it, do something else with it. Boom, now we're in a whole nother space. Do I still get a microphone to rap? No. But I get in front of thousands of people often and get a chance to use those same skills.
And
right?
freestyle,
You freestyle.
like you practice, but you freestyle too, different moments,
Absolutely.
different things.
And when you're even acting, one of the little nuggets I always learn, you got to turn your back to the audience. That one little nugget. When I'm presenting in front of people, I don't turn my back to the audience. Now,
Mhm.
people don't, the audience might not understand why I just kind of, or I got to tell people I model after Chris Rock's stand-up style. Even when I was performing, he doesn't stand still. He's always walking, pacing back and forth. He uses his hands a lot, right? I study stand-up and improv to bring into how I'm presenting. So I tell a lot of bad dad jokes. Like I got good comedic timing. I can riff off people in the moment. These different things that you're going to get as part of the experience. You're going to get the information. I can only
Yeah.
freestyle because I got the information. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If I don't have the
You
information,
practiced, yeah. You're not coming in
tell
just
me.
like willy-nilly unprepared. Yeah.
No. And even if I did, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, matter of fact, this has happened in real life." I was doing a lady. She's a judge in Fulton County down here in Atlanta, and I did some work with her son several years ago. So she was doing a violence prevention rally. She wanted somebody to talk about mental health. She called me and said, "Hey, Lamarr, I appreciate you the work you did with my son. This is what I need you to. This is what we're looking for. Can you do this? We talking in front of a whole bunch of schools. They're gonna come to Clark Atlanta Stadium. We're gonna bust them in, feed them the whole nine. It's gonna be different celebrities that will do. You're gonna be the one talking about mental health." Cool. She said, "How much time I got?" 15 minutes. That. Now, mind you, I know dealing with high schoolers, 15 minutes is a long time, but I can talk for 15 minutes. So I get my little, this is when I used to use index cards. I get my little index cards. I write my main points. I write everything out so I can keep myself on track. Because again, with ADHD, sometimes I can go before I get to the point.
Yep.
And I got 15 minutes.
I know.
Well,
It
I'm
goes
not
by
at the
so
top.
fast.
Yeah, I'm not at the top of the order. I'm a quarter towards the middle, towards the end. So now the person who's, the showrunner or whatever term you want to use, person who's over the show, right? The logistics keeps coming up to me like, "Hey, Mr. Lewis, will you here? Hey, Mr. Lewis, I know you said you had 15 minutes. Can you do 12? Hey, Mr. Lewis, I know you said you got 12. Can you do 10? By the time we got down, it was 5 minutes.
Oh man, come
I
on.
said, but every time they give me something, I said, "Okay, this ain't necessary. This ain't." So I'm just gonna leave them with this. And I took my 5 minutes and did what I had to do. I couldn't have done that if I was so fixated on 15 minutes. I'd be like,
Right.
"Oh my God. No, okay, cool. 15 minutes, cool." Because even 15 minutes ain't really enough for what we're talking about, right? To your point
No, not
earlier,
at
these
all.
topics are so complex and robust that it's hard to do psychological safety in an hour. I've done it. Is that my preference? No. You'll get
No.
some real surface level stuff. I'll give you something you can try. But one lady asked a question one time, like, "Well, how do you do this?" And I'm like, because it's not something I can just give you and like, "Hey, when you go back to your workplace, blank. This is like a tangible kind of intervention. I can give you a couple ideas, see if it'll work, but a lot of it requires, some different things. Not to say it's impossible, just, whatever." So if I'm just stuck on being rigid, again, I diminish opportunities though. And I look at it as a challenge. It's like you do certain things, they put a timer on. "Hey man, you got 1 minute monologue, go."
Yeah.
It don't sound like a lot until it's a lot, right? That minute can sound like an hour. Oh my God, I'm still up here. And, these things that we develop through having that flexibility of mind based on our training and our experiences and stuff like that is so important. And I'm grateful for the space, right, to be able to bring all these things together and to show people, hey, like you have everything you need to be successful already. It's already whatever success looks like for you. That ain't my place. Whatever it is you deem success to be, you have that already. All you got to do is deal with those narratives that we just were talking about, and figure. Sometimes you need an outside voice. That's where the collaboration comes in. It could be a therapist, it could be a
Yeah.
life coach, it could be a friend, it could be a mentor, it could be a family member, whoever. But somebody to give you, like you just said, the support. Right? I'm just using your mantra as an example.
Yeah.
The success part, that's for you to define, whatever that looks like for you. With the support, like something I learned out here in the South, right? You can't look a gift horse in the mouth. If somebody's giving you something, sometimes you just got to take it. Hey, I need $100. You gave me 20. I could say, where's the other 80? But hey, I need this 20. It's gonna help me do something. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
ain't no need to complain about that, right? And I think that people, you know, we talk about support and things like that. You know, you got to ask for it. You got to advocate for yourself. You got to speak up. You got to say, hey, I need this. And it's something I've learned really this year, the past couple of years, really, about, I'm not turning down any love. I'm not turning down anybody giving me something. It could be a prayer. It could be a hug. It could be a phone call. It could be financial blessing. It could be somebody bringing us food. Whatever support I need,
Yeah.
I'm not turning it down.
Because that's
'cause I
their
need it.
gift. That's their offer.
That's
Right?
their
Like
gift.
improv, that's their
Yep.
offer.
And who am I to reject the gift you have to give? What makes me,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, so above others, that the gift you're giving me, I'm not, this is it, this isn't enough. Absolutely not. You know what I'm saying?
Or like I'm okay, I don't need it. Like I just had a friend bring us dinner because my little girl was sick. She had hand, foot, and mouth for the week. And there was an internal battle of like,
uh-huh.
I'm fine. We didn't catch it, thank goodness. Like I can go get food. We're okay. But the fact that she offered shows she's a great friend who cares. And I really appreciate it. And it means a lot. It was like the best dinner because I didn't have to go get it. She brought it. And it was such a nice offer. And if I had turned it down to be polite, we're a polite society. I don't need help. I'm fine. But it just felt, it was such a nice offer. And I was like, I'm going to yes and her offer.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you. And
keep
I
it
think so many times we turn down people's offers, right?
Indeed. No, man, listen, I think I learned that, I mentioned to you off camera, but I'll say it, my son, my youngest son passed away last year, and that experience taught me, right? Like, there's no point in being like all the good stuff you put out in the world. Not to say you do it for a return. I don't.
Yeah.
And right, when I did need it, I got the support I needed and more.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I went through something hard. 'Cause again, we all go through difficult things, but because of who I am every day, who I show up as, how I'm there for other people, people are willing to be there for me, right? And that is the beauty of acceptance, is that when you need something, I just believe, if you truly need it, you truly can ask for it and be open to it. That's the caveat. Being open to it, you get it. And it may not look how you want it to look, may not come where you want it to come from. It may not be the time you thought it was supposed to come in or anything like that, but it'll come. I just believe that. And my life is a testament to that. My whole life, felt like I lost or was missing out on something because my dad wasn't around. But as I matured, especially going through the situation with my son, I recognized that, no, I actually got more. Not to diminish what I could have, that ain't the point. My point is, what I was given was what I needed. Who's to say I'd be the same person if I had this experience with this person? Who's to say?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
What is, right? This is the reality part. What is he wasn't. And through that, through support through other people, and I've intentionally sought that which I needed. And something that my grandma pointed out to me a few years ago is I became the dad that I wanted.
Yeah.
Not just for me and my family, but for so many other families. And that experience, back to the story we started off with, right? That sparked that call to adventure that has brought me back with the gift. If I didn't go through that, if I didn't have, man, I don't like this feeling of not having a father. What am I going to do about it? Well, let me start writing. Let me start being creative. Let me start, let me retreat. Well, you know what? There's this thing called rap. That helps me feel better. And that,
Mhm.
and that empathy, I don't want people to feel how I feel when my friends got killed. The thing I told my dad, my stepfather, is I was like, I don't like feeling like this, and I don't want other people to feel how I feel.
Mm.
So that's why I started
Mhm.
working in my community. If
Yeah.
these things don't happen, I don't get here. I don't get a chance to talk to you. Ain't no telling where I'd be, right? If I had got the success I thought I was going to get when I moved to Atlanta, I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be doing,
Yeah.
I already know where I would be, right? Because of how distorted my values were at that time, right?
Uh-huh.
But I was at
Yeah.
a different stage in life. And
Yeah.
a lot of that was
True.
driven by unresolved trauma and pain, wanting to prove something, I didn't want to be famous because I want to be, I don't even want to be around a whole bunch of people like that. I get a little antsy. If I could be honest with you, I get to looking around, keep my head on a swivel. I'm not comfortable around a whole bunch of people, especially a bunch of people who know me. I don't, but I wanted to be quote unquote famous to prove something to somebody. Hey man, you missed out on a
Yeah.
great person. Look at me. I'm a great person anyway. I don't need
Right.
fame or clout or whatever people call it for that. And I think that for those who are listening, honoring your story, the good, the bad, the ugly, because every part of that story brought you here. You are on your own hero's journey right now. You are the human in the whole. You're the person who climbed out, recovered, and got to a better place. You are the one, right? Who is able to come back with the gift, right? You're the one. So honor that. And we honor that gift, right? We get by receiving. If somebody wants to give,
Mhm.
receive it. I mean, obviously within reason, we don't want to take everything, right? But
Right. Yeah.
but it all,
Yeah.
but it all, in all seriousness, like being able to not have to carry the weight on our own and
Mhm.
honoring the fact that the story you share mirrors somebody else's story. And by you being open enough to share it, just like I hope in me sharing my story connects with, resonates with some of you, all of you really, but then that's the beauty of this experience. With all of the turmoil and everything that's happening, this human experience is shaped by our ability to connect to others and how we can move forward as a team, as a unit, as a family, as a human race, or however you want to frame it. We do that, and we've done it thus far, and we'll continue to do it moving forward through our ability to share our story. And hopefully you have heard something that will help you share your story in a healthier way where you get the perspective like, hey, I might not be all right, but I'll be okay. I'm okay. Like it ain't, I went through some rough patches, this, that, and the third, but here I stand. Like you wouldn't be here. And if you weren't supposed to be here, that's how I feel. So let me get off my soapbox. The preacher kid was coming out. Let me.
Oh, it was, and I was just saying, amen. Yep. Hallelujah. Yep. Yeah.
Testify.
Yeah. I was here for it. Well, and I'll conclude with this thought
Mhm.
of share your story and leave the world better than how you found it. Kind of
Indeed.
that's your
Indeed.
mission, and storytelling can help with that, because otherwise history can repeat itself too if we're not sharing the stories and hearing the stories and listening to the stories too. But that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's a story for another time too.
Hey, you made me think of a quote. If the lion doesn't tell its story, we always honor the hunter. So,
Mm,
sometimes you got to tell your story. If you share, stream it from the mountaintop.
yep. Lamar, you have done so much in your career
Thank you.
and still going. And so what's
Hey,
next on your journey?
what is next on my journey? Man, that's a great question. Continuing the work. I am building my brand company, Lewis Family
Mhm.
Consulting, brick by brick. I want to grow it and expand it to supporting other professionals through right now. A lot of the trainings and stuff I do and workshops and curriculum development and consultation and all the stuff that I do has been primarily with like organizations that'll have me come in and train on whatever. What I'm working on is offering my own stuff, you know, my own certifications in these various areas that I've developed. And
Nice.
storytelling is going to be one of them since, we're talking
Yeah.
about to just help people, you know, so I'm not to the point earlier, kind of bound to an organizational whim, but I can still offer this. Working on a few books. One is a children's book about emotions that
Oh,
was built out for my mom's book fair. She asked me, let me say ask is probably the wrong word. I was voluntold, right, to
uh-huh.
come and come up with something for the kids to do. And so I tapped into my play therapy bag, into my narrative bag, came up with a character, and just kind of started not say making up, but coming up with different ideas. And every time I do it, it gets good feedback. People are always talking to her about it after the fact. She was like, you need to make this a book, children's book. I'm like, all right.
And-
So she's forcing me, yes, and yes, ma'am. Right. She forced me to tap back into my creative writing space. So that's on the works. And then some of the other curriculums and things I've developed for different organizations, I'm turning into workbooks and different modules that I can extrapolate myself, right? Go to more places. I can't be everywhere at once. So I want to, develop stuff like that. So those are the biggest things I would say that are next for me. Continuing to offer what I have to the world,
Yeah.
and
Beautiful.
do what I can. Yeah, that's tall and short of it.
Keep sharing your story. And where and how can our listeners find out more about you as you keep going on this awesome journey that you're on?
For sure. So, and my mom probably gonna fuss at me 'cause I didn't say this throughout the our talk.
Say it now. Say it now.
Yeah, my website is probably the best way. www.Lewis Family Consulting. That's LEWIS FAMILYCONSULT. ING.net. You can also put .com and you'll still get to the website. LewisFamilyConsulting.net. I'm on LinkedIn. Lamarr with 2 R's.
Mhm.
People, at some point, you might see me with my own kind of podcast type thingy. People keep asking me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You got plenty of content.
Plenty. As of plenty. As of now, those are the 2 best ways. Just go to the website. You'll see some of the stuff I've done and we're doing. And when this gets published, by the time I'll probably go up on my website just to let people know the great conversation we've had. There's a contact page and you can reach me there. You also can find ways to get my books. Book my daughter, and my mom and my niece did when I could see me. The workbook and the way to success are all on my website in the store section. So if you want to get the book or you have more, that's the best ways to get a hold of me. Find out what I'm doing.
Well, and Lamarr, I will remind you that when we were talking before we hit the record button, one of the questions I had on the list of many questions was about a storytelling organization. Which ones do you recommend, or which ones do you like? And I'm just gonna say you were like, I don't really listen to any, or like I don't know any offhand. And you did think of one, actually, the Respect Institute, which please talk about. But after that, you said you've inspired me to start one.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna add that to your list, to your journey.
It's on my notes. Put it on my notes under your
Start
mantra.
Local storytelling organization.
For sure.
Because it can be a space for people to share their stories and get that healing aspect and just have that stage that they don't usually have to share.
For sure. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Now that it's been said, as the old folks say, as the old folks say, from your lips to God's ears, right? So hopefully now this in the atmosphere. But that being said, the Respect Institute is an organization that I've worked with in various spaces where they empower people with lived experience with either substance use or mental health diagnoses or both to share their stories in various settings. I've seen them in conferences, they go to different organizations, things like that. And they, give these people an opportunity to share their story. They give them the skills and tools to frame their story in a way that's impactful. And it's just a really, really fantastic organization. And the work they do is so very important. One of the biggest things I found through my own lived experience and then working with other humans is how do we retell the story that we're telling ourselves? We went through something very traumatic, very unfortunate, and now this is my whole identity. Whereas if you can shape that story, and that's why you reference the hero's journey and the man, or I say the human in the whole, and these different storytelling archetypes, we find out that, hey, you're just in one phase of this journey. You haven't even got to the other parts. You might just be in this low phase, but you're going to come back with the gift at some point. We just got to help you see that. And so organizations like that one is a great one to help people. And it also helps normalize, mental health stigma, substance use stigma, to put faces, right, to these stereotypes. Oh, well, I'm going to use me as an example. People, when I do stuff, I always preface, I have ADHD at the beginning of my workshops, trainings, lectures, keynotes, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's funny, more often than not, somebody comes up to me and they say, I have ADHD. Or, my kid has ADHD and I was worried about him. And I see you up here and I got a little hope. That's why I share certain parts of my story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's why organizations like the Respect Institute are so important. And to your other point about creating an organization where there's an opportunity for folks to share their stories, that's something that I am passionate about. Around the pandemic, I started a group, a mental wellness support group for Black men, because there wasn't a lot of spaces for us back then. And we meet every Thursday, 8:00. We've been meeting like that for 4 years.
Still meet.
Wow. When I was going through,
that's amazing.
Last year, my situation with my son and everything, and one of my good friends, Kev, he took over and filled in, and it's been moving ever since. It was moving before that, but it really started moving when he, came involved, because he's one of those back to honoring gifts, right? He's a supporter. And we used to do music together. We went to school together. We grew up together, and he's always supported. And so from his, that was he was same time concerned about mental wellness and spaces for guys to come together and talk, and he's been going. So that's one, but it's not formally storytelling, but obviously you're going to tell stories. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but when I do, I'm going to let you know.
Please do, because I want to join, see it in action, have you on for part 2. We'll talk more about it.
Let's do it.
I'm excited about the journey.
See, I got an encore. I get to come back, y'all. I get to come back.
Oh, please. Good. Encore.
There's so much you need to touch on. There's so much you need to touch on.
I love part 2s because it's fun to see where the journey progresses to in a 1 or 2 year time frame. Sure. So part 2 for sure. Let's make it happen. Lamarr, this has just been, we could keep going. We could go for 2 more hours, and I won't do that to your voice because I know you just had a big presentation yesterday, and I got a little head cold, and I don't think anyone could tell past 2 hours that you chatted. I couldn't tell, at least, because you just got your preacher's kid voice. You were like,
turn it on.
We turned it on for sure. This has been so enjoyable. Thank you for saying yes and to this interview, because I love how it all came full circle and we met again. And I am so excited to just be in your corner, cheering you on now. And I love all the work that you do, and just keep doing it. Keep going.
Likewise. And the same for you. I appreciate you for just creating the space to just let it flow. That's something that, like you said, to the point, right, about telling stories. many of us don't feel or don't take the opportunity to understand how important it is to just honor, your story. So I thank you for allowing me to do that. And I will add that, y'all heard it here first. Don't be surprised that down the road there's some sort of collaboration where you see us somewhere doing something together. Hey,
Put it out there. Universe. It's out
we're in
there.
the same spaces, man. You gotta, at times like these, you gotta build, not destroy. So I'm
Oh, yeah.
always open to co-laboring with folks who have a like mind, like vision. So don't be surprised, y'all, if we figure something out. I think that would be really dope.
Our
For sure.
paths are going to cross for sure. We will meet in person. Yeah. And we're not that far away, too. We're in the
Not at all.
Southeast now.
I wouldn't be surprised if I'm
So-
in Charlotte at some point soon. I won't be surprised. So
Oh,
we'll make it work.
please. That would be amazing. Oh my gosh. Would love that. Okay. Lamarr, I will let you go drink more tea.
Indeed. Thank you.
And thank you. This has just been so wonderful. And thank you for listening to today's episode with Lamarr Lewis. Oh my goodness. What a gem. What an amazing story of his whole journey all throughout, from just being younger. And we were talking after we hit the stop record button. And what I told him was that I'm very impressed with how he kind of goes around. Like, he sometimes will be talking about something and then it goes to something else, but he always finds his way back. And for me, sometimes I will go on a tangent or I'll go on a loop, but I'll forget to kind of close that loop. And I get distracted and I'm like, what were we talking about? How did I get here? And I forget. I'm like, how did I end up here? Because I'm just like talking and going off the cuff. But Lamarr, all throughout the episode, he knew exactly where he was going. He knew what threads, he knew what he was getting to. And he always kind of called attention to, I promise I'm getting to it. You'll see the theme here. And I'm really impressed by that. And, if you lose your train of thought, it's totally cool, especially in an informal, conversational, share your journey space. It happens. Nothing to get upset about or judgmental about. But I was just so impressed with how he always closed the loop and knew where he was going. And that's really impressive there. Honestly, I could listen to Lamarr tell stories all day. He's such a captivating storyteller. And I love how he paints the picture of, what people look like, or this is what the situation was. This is how I was feeling. And he shares those important details. And yes, it was a longer episode. We really dove into the whole story and the journey of how it started, what happened in the middle, how he got here. And, I think that's important to share. There are times, and of course we have to put time limits on things. We have to say, okay, you have 5 minutes, you have a 5-minute storytelling set, or you have a 5-minute point in this meeting, where you get to share the data or whatever. I'm relating it to work. But yes, there are time limits. But sometimes it's nice to just be asked your journey and how did you get here? And I know for me, sometimes if I've been talking too long, or in my head it feels like too long, and I'm like, oh, I'm not sharing the space, or it's too long of a story. Let me give the abbreviated story. Sometimes you leave out really helpful details. And I think there's something really interesting about when you have the space and you can just free flow share. There's so many awesome nuggets of wisdom and things that came up in this episode. Too many to unpack. And honestly, that was actually one of my questions that I wanted to talk about. And Lamarr will be on for a part 2. It'll be fine. Maybe I'll bring it up then. But this is something I struggle with a little bit on storytelling is, does storytelling always need a call to action at the end? Do I need to sit here and unpack things that Lamarr said? Yes, I could certainly call attention to what came up for me. But I think that they came up. I think if you felt something that he said, you already kind of recognize it, or you're inspired by it, or you're thinking more about it and you're reflecting. And so I kind of wonder this as storytellers, is sharing the story of your journey or whatever the story is that enough? And then let the audience and the listeners take the story and then create their own action out of it. They're inspired by it. They create their own action. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up is in Toastmasters, they have many different public speaking contests, and the main one is the World Championship of Public Speaking. Now, I never made it that far. I was always like very regional, like club contests that I would compete in. And I remember as I kept going, I would get the feedback and I would read and listen to a lot of the champion speakers, and they would say, you need a call to action at the end. Like literally you get points for your call to action or your conclusion that mentions a call to action. And I had this story that I did about Hurricane Katrina. I used to have it on my LinkedIn. I think I took it off just because it wasn't really reflective of the way that I think I present now. I think I'm more authentic, and I felt like it was a little gimmicky in the way that I told the story, but I could never find the right call to action with that specific story. And I worked with a voice coach and a speech coach. And like, I really wanted to like go very far in the World Championship of Public Speaking. And that is still a thing that can happen if and when I want to go for that. But maybe it's a different speech, because what I've come to at least reflect on and conclude with in this journey of the story is I don't know if there needs to be a call to action. I think just telling the story, one, was super healing and cathartic for me. And two, I think the listeners can get their own messages and lessons learned and call to actions out of it without me talking about it. And I look at the Moth, which we talked about at the end, storytelling organizations. So if you're looking for some, the Moth is a fantastic storytelling organization, and I hope they expand. I don't think they have anything in Charlotte, and I don't know if much in the Southeast, but I hope that they expand to different like regional areas. And their whole thing is it's a 5-minute story. You might get 5 to 6 minutes to tell a story on the theme. And what I noticed with those storytellers is there was never time really for a call to action. It was just them telling the story. And there were such memorable stories. And I could glean and take away my own lessons learned. And sometimes it's just the lesson learned is that story was really entertaining. They told it well. It's crazy that it happened. This is a true story. Wow. I don't know if every story needs a lesson learned. Like, it's just healing to share your story instead of internalizing it and keeping it in. It is so nice to just share the story. And it doesn't have to be your deepest, darkest, like most hurtful, most vulnerable stories. Sharing happy stories too, and challenging stories that you overcame. Like, all of this is so important. And I love that there are storytelling organizations here. I think I found one in Charlotte, and I don't know the name, so I'm sorry that I don't say it, but I think I found one in Charlotte that meets monthly. And I think Brian LaFontaine, who is a previous guest, started Speakeasy in Charlotte. And so all to say that Lamarr can definitely start his own local storytelling group, because I think it's needed and I think people want it. And whether you're the storyteller or the audience, you will get something out of it. Also, I want to call attention to how amazing of a facilitator Lamarr is. Now, I haven't seen him in his all-day trainings, but I've seen him in action in I think it was a 75-minute or maybe 90-minute workshop, the storytelling workshop that I took virtually in May. But just as he was talking and how he handles his workshops and how he facilitates them, I can tell that he is a fantastic facilitator in just how he reads the room, and he sees that, okay, I've got many more slides to get through, but we're really on to this topic, and I don't need to rush this topic. Let this, whatever's coming up right now, let it flow. And also he said he notices themes that people are saying, like, let's come back to it. Tell me more about that. And if you're listening, I'm doing this expand thing with my hands. Tell me more about this. I'm curious. I'm interested. He brings such a great level of curiosity that I think is so needed in facilitation. I've sat through many a workshop where the facilitator has their slides and their marks to get through. They need to get through this. And I understand that if it is a training for certification, like there are parts that you need to hit on in order for people to learn the material. So if you are teaching, yes, like you have to maintain a certain level of flow of information so that learning can happen. I get it. But I also think that there's so much room in the middle for reading the room and not glossing over things and just letting people share in the experience. As a facilitator, it's not all about you. And of course, like if you're leading a half day or full day training, it can't be, right? Like the participants co-create the session with you because they may think of things that you didn't have top of mind, or you're like, I had these outcomes and impacts I wanted to get to, but the fact that you got that, that's amazing. Lamarr's story about the woman or young lady who was recognizing that she didn't feel comfortable in the leadership space, even though she was a leader. She was becoming aware of her own lack of confidence. And so that awareness, just recognizing that, is huge for her development and growth. And I could go on and on. I mean, there's just so much. I love Lamarr's journey of how he jumped into the arts and enjoyed the arts and theater and music and acting, and really just recognized that he had a natural gift on stage. And so while it looks a little different from maybe what the big dream was 10 to 20 years ago, or when he was growing up and as a young adult, the big dream of get the big movie job and, live in the hills of LA, I'm sure. He's doing it. Lamarr is doing it now. He's living out the dream. He's on stage. He's helping people. He's making life better than where he left it. And that's the dream. He's doing it already. So, goal accomplished. I absolutely love this episode. And I guess the call to action, even though I said you don't always need one, but the thing I want to leave you with here, and we didn't really get to chat about Lamarr's storytelling workshop that I did, and I had a lot of questions on storytelling, and that's okay. We'll do part 2. We'll catch up with Lamarr again. But one of the things he asked in his workshop, and it was actually like the icebreaker question or the first question. It was actually the icebreaker question or energizer question. I think he started with this in his workshop. It was, who is the storyteller in your family or friends circle? And what makes them a great storyteller? And I still remember that question because it was such a thought-provoking question about storytelling. And the person that came to mind for me was my father-in-law. He is an amazing storyteller, and I think he does lead Bible study at his church. He's not a preacher or anything, but he does Bible study. And just whenever he gets on the storytelling kind of like voice and like he's into it, I know my husband's asked some questions about his brothers and siblings and family that he didn't know about. And I remember one Christmas, we go to a beach house every year, and there was just one night his dad was up late, and we got talking about his family, and he was just like sharing story after story about his siblings and parents or grandparents, and it was just like captivating. And I could listen to him talk all day. And he gave a speech at our wedding too. He gave a little toast at our wedding. And I will tell you, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I can tell you that it was a beautiful moment in just how he made us feel, how he made the group feel. And I think he's passionate about what he talks about. He's excited to talk about it. And he doesn't rush it. Like, he knows like his stories are good and he likes talking about it, and he doesn't backtrack and like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much space or too much time. There's none of that. And I think to myself, sometimes I get nervous. Oh, I'm talking too much, or, oh, I'm oversharing. And it's like, stop it. Stop, judgmental mind. It's okay. Take up space. Hold this space. This is your story. This is your time to shine. And not even shine like ego-wise. It's like, this is your time to share. So don't rush it. If judgments come in that you're talking too much, sharing too much, there are always room for improvements, and you can't know what those improvements are until you share it out loud. And then you learn how to retell the story, retell it in a different way that engages the audience. And so I want to ask you that question to end with. Who is the storyteller in your family or circle of influence, your friends, family, coworkers? Who is that great storyteller? And what makes them that great storyteller? What qualities? And what can you take on or emulate or try? Maybe it's not your style, and that's okay. How can you find your style of storytelling that you like from watching others? That's fun to think about. This episode was really special. So let me know what came up for you. Feel free to reach out to Lamarr as well. If anything came up to you, if you want to reach out to him directly, you can find his information on his website. I would love to hear from you. I always love hearing your comments and feedback. So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm at Dayna at Improvly Speaking. That's DAYNA at Improvly. That's Improv, speaking.com. You can also reach out to me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Improvly Speaking. On LinkedIn, I'm at Dayna Gowan. And my website is Improvly, that's Improv, speaking.com. I'm so grateful that you're here and listening and supporting. I shared my mantra, that is my current mantra of late, that I am worthy of success and support. And you being here, supporting this podcast, means so, so much to me. I know this was a longer episode. This might be the record for the longest episode, and I'm not panicking. I'm not worried about it. If you made it this far, thank you for the support. And if you made it halfway and meant to come back and maybe you don't hear this part, that's okay, because I'm eternally grateful for all the support. Just clicking play and giving this some space means so much. And with that, I want to remind you to say yes and flex your creative thinking. I'll talk to you next time.